Chapter 2270. Like I said, the Lord of Heaven has made a deal with them. That's all the more reason for me to go in. Su-yi looked at Longya with a faint smile, and a trace of killing intent suddenly appeared in his eyes. Under the golden light, Su-yi's expression was unusually serious, and he did not look like he was joking at all. Longya suddenly panicked and said softly, "What do you mean? Do you still want to go in?" Longya pulled Su-yi's arm and frowned. "My grandfather is the strongest person in the Long family after the dragon god, and the desolate engulfing heavenly beast is here. Are you crazy?" Suddenly, Su-yi pressed Longya down and said in an extremely low voice, "Longya, listen to me. There's something in the desolate engulfing heavenly beast that I have to get." Longya shook her head and anxiousness appeared on her face. She was afraid that Long Kuei and the others would come at any time. "Idiot! What can't the Long family find? Tell me and I'll help you find it. I'll definitely help you find it. Come with me, okay?" "Alright. I can only find it myself. I'm very grateful that you told me this behind my grandfather's back. Sky Sea City has been turned upside down, and I have to find the vortex. I want them to regret it. Longya, go back," Su-yi said firmly. Seeing Su-yi's stern and determined look, Longya pursed her lips and made up her mind. "Alright. I'll go in with you." "No!" Before Su-yi could finish speaking, Longya's 6th-level origin ancestor golden dragon aura surged out from her body. The ferocious energy stirred up the surrounding sea currents even more. "I have to go in too. I can deal with my grandfather. Moreover, the deep-sea region is so big. How long will it take for one person to find the vortex?" Longya's words made Su-yi fall silent. At this moment, Chi Feihong's voice sounded. "Kid, don't be arrogant. It's good to have a helper. This girl came from thousands of miles away. Don't be too disheartening. Pointless entanglement will only waste time. Don't forget that there's another person inside. Time is of the essence." Su-yi turned to Longya and said, "Let's split up. I'm connected to the aura of the golden dragon, so don't stray too far from it." Seeing that Su-yi had agreed, Longya nodded, and the two of them headed off in different directions. In the deep sea, torrents swept across. An overwhelming cold aura covered the world, and the whistling sound of flowing water was like the chanting of Sanskrit. If it were any other ordinary cultivator, they would have long since been unable to resist. Rumble! The two faint rays of light gradually converged into a shocking ray of light. Longya looked at Su-yi and asked, "Have you found it?" Su-yi was silent for a long time. The current was like a storm, and his spiritual sense and soul energy were greatly damaged on land. The entire vast ocean rippled, and rumbling sounds rang out incessantly. "If this goes on, we'll have to fight with Grandpa before we even find him." Su-yi smiled bitterly. Then, he gestured for Longya to step back. Su-yi thought of the spiritual fish soldiers who had guarded Tianlan for many years. After many years in the deep sea, their vision had gradually deteriorated, and most of them relied on their hearing to fight. Su-yi slowly closed his eyes. His green robe fluttered, and he began to wave his hands. Suddenly, a golden light flashed in his palms, and a golden ball of light several meters in size gradually formed. "This is the remnant soul of the golden dragon." The golden ball shone brightly, and a domineering aura spread out. Longya took a closer look and saw that there were 3 golden dragon remnant souls of the same size surging out of the light. "Go!" Su-yi shouted, and the golden ball of light in his hands shot out. Then, the 3 golden dragon shadows separated, and their roars resounded through the world. "Awoo!" In the violent torrents, ancient golden light filled the world, and like 3 umbrella-shaped arrows, they quickly covered a large area of the void. He can control the aura of the golden dragon to this extent. At this moment, looking at the surging water in the sky, and the sound of the dragon's roar, Longya's eyes were filled with shock. In front of her, countless mysterious runes surged around Su Yi's body, and it was as if the dragon god had descended. Between heaven and earth, the sea current trembled for no reason. The moment Su Yi withdrew the 3 rays of light, the sky became murky again. In the distorted space, countless whip-like currents surged, and energy gathered again. Found it. Follow me. Su Yi opened his eyes and subconsciously held Long Ya's hand, and quickly flew in front of him. Long Ya, who was instantly shocked, widened her eyes, and followed Su Yi to a torrent in a daze. She asked softly, Is it here? Su Yi's eyes were grave, and he activated the Origin Supreme technique again. Then, his eyes flickered and he said, It's definitely here. Step back. Su Yi's eyes were stern, and golden runes flashed across his jet-black eyes. His pupils turned into dragon eyes in an instant, and countless mysterious dragon runes spread over Su Yi's neck and forehead. Golden dragon sky-piercing finger! Su Yi's thunderous voice came out of his mouth. Suddenly, ancient golden dragon runes shot out from his knuckles, and a sharp air current cut through the torrent, directly piercing through the center of the torrent. In an instant, the entire space in the deep sea trembled, and a huge golden light flickered incessantly. The incomparably sharp golden dragon projection tore open the vast space like a blade. Hiss! At the same time, the aura of the sea current, which was originally flowing calmly, began to soar, and the energy of heaven and earth, which was completely different from that of the surrounding sky, burst out from the rupture. Boom! The sea churned violently, and Long Ya said in surprise, So it's here. The torrent intersects, so I can't find any traces of the vortex. Let's go in. Su Yi looked at the vortex that was becoming more and more terrifying. It was like a huge sucking mouth that pulled Su Yi and Long Ya in, and his heart was full of shock. Let's go. Long Ya nodded. With a loud bang, the 2 of them withdrew their primordial chi at the same time, and the vortex-like torrent quickly wrapped around them. The majestic ancient aura was like that of a ferocious beast, shocking people's hearts. In an instant, the vortex calmed down after the 2 of them disappeared, and the turbulent torrent intersected with the other torrents again. At this time, at the entrance of the deep sea. Damn it, did that spirit fish soldier deliberately lead us in a circle? Hu Qi looked at the terrifying air current and complained. That's right, are you trying to stall for time? We should have arrived at this place long ago. At this time, a majestic dragon roar burst out from somewhere in the distance, and Long Kuei waved his hand, indicating for everyone to shut up. What is that? The aura of the golden dragon? Hu Qi, Spear Demon, and the other experts shut their mouths at the same time, and there was a faint sense of awe and fear. Is it that brat? He really has the bloodline of the golden dragon? Hu Qi's eyes were gloomy, and a strong murderous intent was instantly produced. Long Kuei's eyes were gloomy, and he said in a low voice, This is indeed the aura of the golden dragon. How can this brat have the bloodline of the golden dragon? He went to find the desolate devouring heavenly beast alone, and he is quite bold. I want to see what kind of ability he has. Chapter 2271. The torrent swept across, and the energy gathered in the deep sea was turbulent. In the infinite darkness, the undercurrent was surging. Rumble! The space in the deep sea suddenly trembled. Long Kuei and the others instantly erupted with a domineering aura of destruction, and then flew in the direction of the explosion in the distance. The surging torrent enveloped Su Yi and Long Ya, and the ferocious aura seeped out from every orifice. When Su Yi and Long Ya woke up, they found themselves deep in a huge black mine. In front of Long Ya and Su Yi, the light circle arranged by the golden dragon aura shone with a mysterious light. The mysterious runes flowed like a wind barrier, and Su Yi and Long Ya were close together. Where are we? Feeling dizzy, Long Ya patted her head and sat up. Her slightly pale face was tinged with red. Su Yi had already woken up and was sitting beside her, adjusting his breathing. When he heard Long Ya's voice, Su-yi opened his eyes and looked at Long Ya. This place and the deep sea should be two different spaces. From the time I woke up to the time you woke up, there have been hundreds of storms here, Su-yi said faintly. As she spoke, Long Ya sat up and shook her dizzy head. She formed a hand seal, and a mighty origin ancestor realm cultivation shrouded the surrounding space again. As she adjusted her breathing, she moved her lips and said, "Hundreds of storms? Could the vortex be generated here?" Su-yi nodded. His gaze fell on the smooth lines on the walls of the mine. He said softly, "Every time there is a storm, it can directly create ripples in space. I guess the huge amount of energy is transmitted out from the space cracks." Long Ya nodded and said softly, "The desolate engulfing heavenly beast should be in here. Let's go in and take a look." Long Ya's words were so soft that they could only be heard through a yuan qi transmission. As soon as she finished speaking, a gloomy whistling sound accompanied by a huge amount of energy was transmitted from the deep hole again. Tiny wind rays that could be seen with the naked eye spread out along the space ripples. "Be careful." Just as Long Ya's eyes began to tremble, an extremely terrifying golden light erupted from Su-yi's body, shielding Long Ya behind him. In an instant, several huge gullies appeared on the ground and in the air. It was like an invisible suction cup, pushing Su-yi out of the cave and pulling Su-yi and Long Ya back into the cave. Suddenly, in the turbulent space, there was a wave of devouring. After the wind rushed past, it changed direction, passed through Su-yi's protective dragon aura, and rushed into the cave. Bang! The huge energy caused Su-yi's protective light to fluctuate back and forth in the air like a bubble. During the energy transmission, Long Ya seemed to be pushed by someone as she was tightly pressed against Su-yi's back. "Ah!" A terrified cry came from Long Ya's throat. She pursed her lips and left Su-yi's back. She said in a panic, "If I'm not wrong, this is the breathing of the desolate devouring heavenly beast. Let's go in and take a look." Okay. With his eyes fixed on the unknown dark cave in front of him, Su-yi couldn't care less about what was happening behind him. When all the wind stopped, Su-yi's expression changed slightly. He changed his hand seal and withdrew the protective light shield. Slowly standing up, Su-yi's eyes moved slightly. His green robe shook slightly as he handed the shadow shuttle elixir to Long Ya. "Let's go. Be careful when you go in. The desolate devouring heavenly beast is extraordinary." After taking the shadow shuttle elixir, Long Ya put it away and took out another bottle of elixir pills from her space bag. In an instant, their auras were hidden in the air again. Looking back at Long Ya, Su-yi asked in confusion, "Your aura doesn't seem right?" Long Ya curled her lips and said unwillingly, "Is the Yutian Palace's elixir good? The Long family's elixir pills can also hide auras." Then, Long Ya pushed Su-yi and urged him to go in quickly. Suddenly, Su-yi performed the cloud shadow treading frost. A crystal blue light flickered and ice crystals moved, perfectly covering Long Ya and Su-yi. This is the secret technique of the water suppression heavenly stone, right?" Long Ya looked at Su-yi from behind. The two of them performed their movement techniques and moved close to the ground, flying toward the figure. "The Long family is really well informed." Su-yi smiled faintly. Long Ya said seriously, "That's why Tianlan-Si City betrayed you. You have to be careful." In front of her, Su-yi's eyes gradually turned cold. His gaze fell on the unseen abyss in front of him and said, "If I were Yi, I would do the same. However, there's no other way. She provoked me. Tianlan-Si City, I won't let it go." Long Ya nodded. Looking at the man in front of her, she recalled the scene when she was unconscious and felt inexplicably shy. "I won't let it go either," Long Ya said softly. "What did you say?" Su-yi asked softly. Long Ya did not reply. The two of them continued to walk into the divine cave. In the vast space, a heart-palpitating aura spread in the space. The deeper they went, the more they could feel the storm and the huge pressure spreading out. At the same time, the deeper the cave became, which made Sue feel extremely shocked. In the space in front of them, there were black clouds swirling above their head. It was like a chaotic world, and everything was illusory and unpredictable. There's no road ahead. Longya and Sue stopped. In front of them, there was an incomparably huge mountain peak standing tall in front of Sue. Looking up, Sue's expression changed. The mountain peak was filled with rolling purple lightning and dazzling light. Accompanied by the palpitating lightning above, Sue and Longya were pulled back into the chaotic world. Be careful. I'll go up and see if there's any trace of the desolate engulfing heavenly beast. Sue began to feel a little puzzled. How could there be such a mountain peak in this empty dark cave? Two abnormally terrifying thunderbolts surged. Small thunderbolts filled the air above. Thunder clouds rolled and the entire sky seemed to be dyed in the color of the chaotic world. As soon as he finished speaking, Sue's feet moved slightly. His figure stomped heavily on the mountain and his whole body rushed into the sky like lightning. Longya, who seemed to have sensed something, also retreated rapidly. She did not stay at the foot of the mountain. Looking up, Sue's figure gradually became smaller. In the end, it turned into a grain of light and disappeared. Along the mountain wall, Sue looked at the sky in front of him. Flames splashed, mysterious and unpredictable fire patterns flowed back and forth on Sue's body. Soon, Sue's speed was raised to the maximum. When Sue's figure was about to reach the mountain peak, two hot currents surged like the eruption of an underground volcano. The incomparably huge space suddenly distorted. Chi-la! Sue was shocked. Being surrounded by such airflow, Sue knew that if he was hit by it, he would either die or be seriously injured. Immediately, his body turned rapidly in the air. With a shake of his long sleeves, the aura of the golden dragon shot out rapidly. Sue's whole body was like a golden dragon climbing up. Chapter 2272. Roar! The gigantic golden raging dragon thunder rushed up the mountain peak. Sue cut across the sky, his feet moving continuously in the air, directly dodging the two terrifying heat waves. Break! Immediately after, the frightening aura became heavier and heavier. Sue shouted in his heart, and the unparalleled golden dragon patterns climbed on Sue's body. The aura was inexplicably fierce. GG. Just as he was about to reach the mountain peak, Sue's heart skipped a beat, and the fiery halo around him instantly turned scarlet red. The incomparably huge Tharch sparrow spread its wings again, and the divine fire lit up the world. It was like an ancient war god that suppressed everything and rushed into the sky. Boom! Sue's eyes were filled with coldness as he increased his speed again. The higher he went, the more he could feel the majestic aura of the two strange thunderclouds. It was as if countless electric snakes were intertwined together, and the overwhelming aura wanted to push Sue down several times. What kind of mountain is this? Sue was shocked. He had already climbed a few battle ladders and mountains before, but he had never felt such palpitations and fear from a mountain peak like this. This fear wasn't the torture of his soul, but a kind of terror that he couldn't see the top of. Sue's eyes trembled as he rushed towards the two terrifying thunderclouds. The thunderclouds were intertwined with the white light. Sue raised his spirit, and he was about to reach the thunderclouds. Chi-la-la! The Tharch sparrow spread its wings, and the wind's speed was as fast as lightning. When he stood in front of the thunderclouds, Sue's eyes were fixed on the bright white and blue halo, and he was shocked. This is... Sue thought to himself. Looking at the two thunderclouds not far away, countless purple lightning intertwined together, and when he took a closer look, it actually looked a little like the eyes of a beast man. Boom! A frightening aura burst out, and the space in front of him shook violently. The huge thunderclouds instantly burst out. Sue stood with his hands behind his back, and his expression gradually turned serious. The tranquil mountain was suddenly shaken. What had happened? The arch sparrow and the golden dragon. They're all the people I hate the most. A fierce voice filled with killing intent slowly descended from the sky. Upon seeing this, Sui finally understood. What thunderclouds! What air current! The mountain before him was the desolate, devouring heavenly beast. I'll go! Sui shouted. Soon after, he formed a seal with his hand and a fiery red glow appeared in his palm. Accompanied by the aura of the golden dragon, Sui instantly pierced through the space, directly breaking through it and flying down the mountain. Crash! On the peak of the mountain, a streak of fiery light shot down like a fireball. The entire space behind him began to tremble, and the chaotic aura became more and more terrifying. Clang! The sound of the giant beast turning its body was like the shifting of mountains and rivers. An earth-shattering noise erupted behind Sui. Violent demonic aura poured out in an instant. The thunderclouds moved, and a ghostly light shone on Sui's figure that was far away. Waves of heat surged, and countless fierce waves of fire like volcanic eruptions were set off in the sky. The thunderclouds swept across, and the mysterious violent purple thunderbolts swept across the sky. At this moment, heaven and earth trembled and lightning flashed. The thunderbolts destroyed the world. Run! Sui shouted loudly. Sui, who was rushing down the mountain, quickly came to Long Ya's side. The two of them fought to be the first to run into the distance. She had never seen such a huge mountain peak before, and it had already made her suspicious. Long Ya, who felt that something was wrong, turned pale instantly. Suddenly, two golden dragons and golden rings spurted out. Sui and Long Ya held hands and ran out of the cave. Looking ahead, Sui and Long Ya did not delay at all. They were afraid that they would be smashed into pieces if they were even a little slower. At this moment, the huge movement behind them became louder and louder. The void trembled, and the terrifying sound of space trembling reverberated. The whole ground cracked, and countless pitch-black ravines and space cracks spread rapidly. Two golden dragons, how dare you trespass into my territory? You're courting death. The voice was like the voice of the underworld from hell. The ancient behemoth burst out with a sound that made people tremble. The sound of wind breaking behind them became louder and louder. Long Ya and Sui ran crazily. Between heaven and earth, the mountains collapsed, and countless huge rocks rolled down from the sky. The incomparably huge and terrifying thunderbolts struck down right in front of Sui and Long Ya. Sui raised his eyebrows, and his eyes were full of shock. Beside him, Long Ya also frowned. Now, the desolate engulfing heavenly beast was completely awakened. With such a huge body, she and Sui would not be able to resist it. Bang! Thunderbolts and huge rocks fell crazily. Even though Sui and Long Ya were protected by the golden dragon vital energy, they could still feel the destructive power spreading all around them. It was as if the whole space had turned violent. We can't get out. Long Ya looked at the blocked road in front of her and said nervously. At this moment, the energy wind blew, and the front was blocked by falling rocks and thunderbolts. The violent, desolate engulfing heavenly beast was not far away from them. How can it be so strong? Sui carried Long Ya and retreated again. The destructive palm wind collided with the falling rocks and thunderbolts in the sky. When the desolate engulfing heavenly beast arrived in front of Sui and Long Ya finally saw clearly that the mountain they were climbing just now was the face of the desolate engulfing heavenly beast. If he did not see it with his own eyes, Sui would not dare to believe that there was such a terrifying barbaric demon beast in the world. Its steel-like skin was incomparably black, and its two lightning-like eyes were bright and spirited. When it stood up, it was as if it could cover the sky and swallow the sea, and pluck the stars. The two of them were like two golden stars in front of the desolate engulfing heavenly beast. Sui and Long Ya were shocked at the same time. What was the saying of a mayfly trying to shake a tree? The truth in front of them shocked Sui. Why do two little humans have the aura of a golden dragon? A loud voice came down from the 9 heavens. Two blue thunderbolts could hit Sui and Longya at any time. We both have the golden dragon bloodline. We are here to find you. Sui looked up. The desolate engulfing heavenly beast's cultivation had reached the 9th stage of the demon realm. Its terrifying strength was even stronger than Suyi's. Although this kind of ancient demon beast was at the 9th stage of the demon realm, it could not be treated as an ordinary demon beast. Sui naturally understood this principle. The situation was in front of them, and there was no way out. No matter how strong it was, Sui could only fight. Humph, if you did not have the golden dragon bloodline, I would have swallowed you. Those arrogant golden dragons and phoenixes looked down on me, a barbaric demon beast that was born and raised here. Today, I want to see how powerful their descendants are. The desolate engulfing heavenly beast roared. In an instant, a fierce murderous aura surged out. In the dark space, lightning bolts that could be seen with the naked eye rained down from the sky. Sui and Longya were both shocked by the sight. Boom! When Sui revolved the primordial supreme technique, a vast and ancient aura surged out. The wind and clouds surged, and an incomparably powerful suction force was like an endless washing plate, instantly sucking Sui and Longya into its stomach. Everything returned to calm in an instant. When Sui and Longya were swallowed, the desolate engulfing heavenly beast in the sky was slightly shocked. Its incomparably huge black body trembled slightly. Just now that was the aura of Master. Chapter 2273. In the dark cave, the space returned to normal once again. That sentence just now lingered above the cave for a long time, and the desolate devouring heavenly beast no longer made a sound. It was even choking with sobs. Awoo! In the next moment, a loud dragon's roar resounded from the entrance of the cave. The sound waves were like thunder, shocking the entire cave. With a strong and domineering aura, the shadow of a golden dragon that was over 1,000 meters long hovered in the sky at the entrance of the cave. The dragon's scales were open and the beast's eyes were fierce. The terrifying energy shocked the desolate devouring heavenly beast from afar. What a powerful golden dragon bloodline! After sensing Long Kuei's strength, the desolate devouring heavenly beast's eyes trembled slightly. It stood up and roared at Long Kuei and the rest. Desolate devouring heavenly beast! The spear ghost and Huchi behind Long Kuei were excited, but they were also shocked by the size of the desolate devouring heavenly beast. Among the people present, only Long Kuei could fight with the desolate devouring heavenly beast. Such an ancient beast was actually still alive. How could they not be pleasantly surprised? Suddenly, Long Kuei looked around and did not sense anyone else. He whispered to the people behind him, "The sound just now came from here. Sui should have been swallowed by it. Then let's cut open the beast's stomach." The spear ghost's eyes were filled with greed. Although they could not find Sui, the desolate devouring heavenly beast had grown for 10,000 years. Every part of its body would be beneficial to them. Long Kuei nodded and said, "That's the only way. Everyone, get into formation. Go." Dragon Soul Heaven Path Formation. 4 Tigers Killing Formation. Heavenly Dragon Lightning Formation. The 3 forces instantly surrounded the desolate devouring heavenly beast with 3 strange transformations. The Long family, the Divine Tiger sect, and the Sky Dragon sect formed a group of energy light. A few majestic light shadows filled the space. Everyone's eyes trembled as they stared at the desolate devouring heavenly beast. Awoo! The desolate devouring heavenly beast looked serious. Its thunderous eyes were filled with disdain. It then looked at the people around it and roared angrily. "Despicable humans! How dare you stop me? Go to hell!" With a loud roar, the entire space began to tremble. A series of pitch-black spatial cracks spread out in the mysterious space like a spider web, and a large area of space collapsed. Rumble! Once again, the falling rocks fell. Endless lightning flashed like electric arcs. An astonishing power cut through the sky and directly landed on the array where the three of them were. The golden dragon, the white tiger, and the white horned dragon instantly rose into the sky. Facing the crumbling space, the illusory figures glowed brightly and firmly withstood all the attacks. "How dare you flaunt your prowess in front of me?" The gigantic body of the desolate engulfing heavenly beast began to twist and turn, and a crazy suction force formed at the corner of its mouth once again. The black iron palm that was like a mountain suddenly slapped towards the three of them. "Block it!" Long Kuei saw that the situation was not right, and his energy aura instantly soared. Strong winds howled and swept out, and the golden dragon phantom's radiance spread throughout the world. Bang! The energy instantly exploded in the air, and a violent shockwave visible to the naked eye spread out horizontally. The impact directly broke through the air, and the entire dark space shook continuously from the explosion. At the same time, Su-Yi and Long-Ya, who were sliding down the desolate engulfing heavenly beast, seemed to be traveling through a space-time tunnel. The compression between the walls of the throat brought about a huge storm, and it shook Su-Yi and Long-Ya's minds. The golden radiance enveloped Su-Yi and Long-Ya, completely protecting them. Buzz! There is light in front. At this moment, hearing Long-Ya's words, Su-Yi looked down at the space that was continuously falling down. A faint purple radiance spread out and it was extremely dazzling. "Let's go there." Su-Yi stepped on the profound handle, and his entire body unleashed the fire attribute energy. The rising Yao's 100 transformation steps immediately stopped the downward momentum, and his entire body rushed towards the light like a huge energy arrow. With complicated and unsightly expressions, the two of them finally broke through the purple light ball. When they opened their eyes, what they saw was completely different from what they imagined. The sea was rippling, and a slightly fishy sea breeze blew past, making Su-Yi and Long-Ya feel as if they had returned to the Chaos region. "Where is this?" Long-Ya looked at the sky, and there were divine clouds floating in the sky, and there were a few sea beasts dancing in the faint rosy clouds. It was completely different from the dark space just now. Su-Yi secretly circulated his energy, and he could feel that the spatial laws here were different from the dark space just now. This is probably a small space that the desolate engulfing heavenly beast opened up in its body. The desolate engulfing heavenly beast naturally has the power to devour heaven and earth, so it is not strange that it can open up a space. Su-Yi looked at the sky, and his eyes were filled with fluctuations. Hearing this, Long-Ya couldn't help but feel a little surprised. Divine radiance scattered down from the sky, and the heaven and earth were filled with the aura of orthodox martial arts. "Then where is this?" Long-Ya asked. "Tianfeng Martial Pavilion." Su-Yi walked on the hard ground, and said softly as he picked up a seasoned shell. Immediately, Long-Ya began to look around, and she saw that the surroundings were tranquil, and there was a leisurely aura that had existed since ancient times. Long-Ya's eyes moved slightly, and then she said, "No wonder there is only half of the Tianfeng ruins in the sea. It is a perfect match with this place." "You have been to the ruins there?" Long-Ya nodded, and told Su-Yi that as a member of the Long Ben army, they had to go through the life of a spy, and Long-Ya was the one who was assigned to the sea. The Long Ben army had gone to the Tianfeng ruins many times to search for the remaining traces, but to no avail. "The Heavenly Palace has not given up on finding the Heavenly Metal Stone," Su-Yi said. Long-Ya was silent. "Let's go in and take a look." At this time, Su-Yi began to worry about Duguyuma. From the deep-sea realm to the encounter with the desolate engulfing heavenly beast, they had not seen any trace of Duguyuma, and this made Su-Yi feel uneasy. Then, the two of them entered the ruins. The ruins were in the stomach of the desolate engulfing heavenly beast, and it was well preserved. The style of the buildings from 10,000 years ago, and there were many scattered martial arts techniques, which benefited Su-yi greatly. There are many Dharma artifacts here. There are also 5 sacred artifacts, Longya said to Su-yi in a high pavilion. I also have many cultivation techniques here. Do you want them? Su-yi flipped through the books in his hands, and his eyes were full of surprise. Cultivation techniques, martial arts techniques, and countless crystal stones. This place is a treasure trove. I don't want them, you can take them all. There are many things waiting to be done in the Chaos Realm, and these are what you need, Longya said excitedly. Su-yi nodded and said, all right. Longya's words were not without reason, and he immediately took them all. He found a place, took a quick glance, and handed everything to Chi Feihong for safekeeping. Su-yi quickly ran to the pavilion where the elixirs and herbs were kept. Time was of the essence, and Su-yi did not have time to look carefully. Why is there still nothing? Where is the heavenly glass stamen? Looking at the pavilion with no results, Su-yi's heart sank. If even the Tianfeng Martial Pavilion did not have this item, where else could he find it? Chapter 2274. When Longya saw Su-yi rummaging around, she knew that Su-yi was disappointed. She walked to Su-yi's side and patted Su-yi's shoulder gently. She said softly, there are still a few ancient ruins in the Tian barbarian continent. The Long family knows all about them. When the time comes, I'll ask my grandfather and accompany you to find them. We will definitely find the glassy sky stamen. Turning around, Su-yi gripped the medicine bottle from the Tianfeng Martial Pavilion tightly in his hand as a sense of helplessness surged in his heart. If the glassy sky stamen was so easy to find, everyone would be able to reincarnate. When he thought of this, Su-yi smiled and said, Longya, thank you. Then they looked at each other and smiled. No matter what, they had taken a big step forward by reaching the Tianfeng relic. If they could study the Tianfeng relics thoroughly, it would be beneficial to both the Bawang sect and Su-yi. Unfortunately, time was running out. Long Kuei and the rest would catch up with them from the deep sea realm soon. Su-yi and the rest did not have much time left. Su-yi looked around the relic. The vast antiquity aura filled the air. Su-yi looked at Longya and said, let's take a look at the forest over there. Longya looked at the dense black forest and said, the real 10,000 insects forest has been taken away by the desolate swallowing heavenly beast. Su-yi's eyes lit up as he looked at Longya's line of defense. The forest in front of him was indeed dark and gloomy. There was a strange rustling sound coming from the forest. It made one's heart skip a beat when they looked at it. 10,000 insects forest? Su-yi asked curiously. The Long Ben army has studied the Tianfeng relics thoroughly in the Sea Realm. Most of the Tianfeng relics in the Sea Realm can be opened to the public. However, the Elixir Pavilion, Martial Pavilions, and the 10,000 Insects Forest, which are the lifeline of the Tianfeng Martial Pavilions, have all disappeared. It seems that they have been taken away by the desolate swallowing heavenly beast. Awo! Suddenly, a terrifying demonic aura was released from the Black Forest in Myriad Gu Forest. The black energy surged into the sky with a powerful aura. Let's go take a look. Su-yi frowned. In such a space, could it be that there were still living creatures after 10,000 years? Su-yi's eyes lit up. Fire attribute energy rose from his feet as he flew towards the Myriad Gu Forest. Longya immediately caught up. The two of them stepped into the Myriad Gu Forest one after another. The space was filled with resplendent flowing light. The surrounding light was hazy and gloomy, causing one's heart to palpitate. What a powerful, bewitching energy! Longya, be careful, Su-yi said to Longya as he circulated the art of controlling the heavens. A vast and boundless aura flowed through his meridians and muscles, sweeping away the dizziness in front of him. Behind him, Longya instantly activated her golden dragon aura. A dragon's roar resounded, and the domineering dragon's might instantly dispelled all the confusion. When both of their eyes lit up at the same time, they realized that there were remnants of human martial artists' energy in the gloomy aura. Someone came here before? Longya's eyes were filled with doubt as she asked Su-yi. Su-yi's eyes flickered as he nodded and said, "I think I know who it is. Let's hurry up and catch up." In order to verify his guess, Su-yi raised his speed to the maximum and sped through the myriad goo forest. The small demonic venomous insects in the air were also destroyed by Su-yi's powerful aura. Bang bang bang. His body moved like lightning, stirring up a huge gust of wind in the dense myriad goo forest. Wherever the golden light passed, the demonic aura would dissipate. After half a breath's time, Su-yi passed through the myriad goo forest. In front of him was a crack that could only fit one person. Longya followed closely behind with a puzzled expression. She did not expect to see such an inconspicuous passage behind the myriad goo forest. She then asked, what could be behind this crack? Both of them had no choice but to circulate their cultivation and aura to the maximum. From the demonic aura that was emitted from the crack, they could clearly sense that there was something very strange behind the crack. His eyes were filled with determination, and his aura was stable with extraordinary spiritual energy. Su-yi's eyes flickered for a while before he activated the Fuyao's 100 transformation steps without hesitation. He turned into a ball of red light and rushed into the crack. Boom! In a short moment the entire crack was like a living creature. Instantly, the mountain started to press down on the middle. Longya's face turned pale as she turned into a ball of golden light and rushed into the crack in the mountain. Buzz! A low muffled sound was accompanied by a burst of energy. Powerful energy bloomed in the sky and squeezed Su-yi and Longya like two invisible hands. Su-yi and Longya, who were in the crevice of the mountain, suddenly felt a huge pressure as if a mountain was pressing down on them. Su-yi's cold face suddenly turned pale. This strange scene startled Su-yi. What's going on? Why is the mountain moving? Longya's aura surged and she pushed her hands outwards. A vast golden light surged out and the golden yuan qi gradually rose into the air to form a ferocious dragon shadow. Jie La. The more they resisted, the harder it was to resist the huge pressure of the mountain. Overbearing aura surged out from the crack, and extremely terrifying energy surged out. They could still feel that Su-yi and Longya were becoming more and more dangerous. No. If this continues, we will explode. Su-yi gritted his teeth and said to Longya, "Longya, hold my hand and fly out with me." The situation was urgent and Longya's mind was already feeling dizzy because of the heavy pressure. Hearing Su-yi's voice, Longya nodded subconsciously. Clang! Su-yi's hand seals were quickly formed. Suddenly, the crack of the mountain trembled and a destructive aura spread out. The aura was sharp and murderous. The mysterious runes of the primordial ancient bell surrounded Su-yi and Longya like a divine artifact. Qi. Qi. At the same time, due to the chaotic yuan ancient bell, the terrifying and vast pressure that was bearing down on the mountain was instantly nullified. The loud roar caused the mountain to tremble. The crack of the mountain looked like it was going to crack. Seeing this situation, Su-yi shouted, "Run!" In an instant, Su-yi held Longya's hand and the two of them left the ancient bell. They turned into scattered light and rushed out of the crack of the mountain. At this moment, light appeared in Su-yi's hand and the primordial ancient bell returned to his spirit sea under Su-yi's summon. Looking back at the mountain had already completely merged together. The twisted mountain was beginning to crumble inch by inch. The terrifying patterns were like spiritual snakes, and the continuous explosions within the mountain sounded like the summons of hell's Vajra, enough to make one's soul tremble. Chapter 2275. What was that just now? Longya looked at the creepy mountain and her eyes were filled with fear. Fortunately, she managed to escape with Su Yi's help. If she had been trapped in the mountain, it would have been a terrifying lake. Looking at it now, Long Ya's face turned pale and beads of sweat rolled down her pale face. Rumble! At this moment, there was a sudden explosion of lightning behind them. Su Yi and Long Ya, whose divine souls had not returned to their original positions, were shocked and looked into the distance behind them. The scene in front of them was extremely creepy. A huge flower stood in the middle of the valley. What was even more peculiar was that there was only one flower in the valley. The demonic aura that they had sensed earlier was released by this huge flower. The overwhelming demonic aura rampaged through the space, and the vines stretched back and forth in the air like tentacles. "There's someone there! It's Miss Duguyuma." Su Yi was shocked and looked at the roots of the huge flower. There was a silver-haired lady who was constantly dodging the attacks of the vines. "I'll help you," Su Yi shouted. Without hesitation, he turned into a ball of light and rushed to the front of the huge flower demon. Before he got close, Su Yi could feel an unparalleled spiritual pressure devouring his soul. Su Yi immediately activated the Origin Supreme technique. Under the dazzling light, Su Yi turned into a flying flame and rushed to the flower again. "Why are you here?" Seeing that it was Su Yi, Duguyuma stopped in her tracks. The blue light in her eyes fluctuated continuously. She was both surprised and worried. "You came here because of me. How can I leave you alone?" Su Yi frowned. Without changing his pace, the power of the Emperor's Sparrow and the Golden Dragon were activated at the same time. At the same time, the blood demon slaying God's sword was drawn and slashed at the vines with all his might. Rumble! Crimson light and mysterious runes surrounded Su Yi. The boundless aura bombarded the vines crazily. Poochie! Under Duguyuma's surprised gaze, Su Yi quickly cut the surrounding vines in half. Unexpectedly, the wound on the vine didn't explode. Instead, it turned into formless soul energy and dissipated in the air. What's going on? Could it be that this giant flower is fake? Su Yi was a little puzzled. The blood demon killing God's sword danced like a storm. Rays of light appeared in the air, and distorted spatial ripples spread out in all directions. The number of flower petals also increased, covering the sky and earth as they swept out in a frenzy. Rumble! A ferocious aura surged through the heavens and the earth. Demonic patterns appeared on the petals, and the number of vines increased. At this moment, a dragon's roar reverberated through the heavens and earth. Golden arcs of lightning and the huge vines clashed, and finally, the vines were shattered into nothingness like a halo of light. "Why are there people from the Long family here?" Duguyuma's face was pale. Looking at Long Ya behind her, she felt uneasy. Hearing the voice, Su Yi returned to Duguyuma's side and said to Long Ya, "She's one of us. She's here to help. Miss Dugu, tell me what you know now. What is this giant flower?" Under their feet, the giant flower swayed wildly like a huge exhibition stage. The vines and petals that came from all directions shone brightly, and it was impossible to guard against them. At this moment, a terrifying demonic aura suddenly spread out, causing Su Yi, Duguyuma, and Long Ya to hold their breath. They were instantly enveloped by a strong sense of oppression. Everything here is fake. This is the celestial flower pistil. As long as we can get the essence in the middle of the flower stem, the flower demon array will be broken. Duguyuma's blue eyes seemed to be able to purify everything in the world. Her gaze moved slightly as she looked at the giant flower stem in the distance. Celestial flower pistil. Su Yi and Long Ya shouted at the same time. Instantly, Su Yi was overjoyed. He said to Long Ya, "Be careful. I'll get the essence." Swish. Swish. Perhaps they knew Su Yi's intention. The surrounding vines and flowers came crashing down like a storm. The huge impact caused countless ripples in the air. Oh! At the same time, to everyone's surprise, a purple streamer appeared in the flower stem. Suddenly, a terrifying female voice was heard from the flower stem. Ah! A shrill and miserable voice was heard from the celestial flower pistil. Suddenly, Su-Yi's figure that was dashing towards the flower stem slowed down. At this moment, although Su-Yi and Long Yu were only a few hundred meters away, it was as if they were separated by several dimensions. A few hundred meters away, Long Yu and Duguyuma could only watch as Su-Yi's pace slowed down. In the sky, the crazy thunderclouds were rolling non-stop. Terrifying energy filled the sky. The power of heaven was rolling and the demonic aura was everywhere. All the vines and flowers stopped attacking Long Yu and Duguyuma. Instead, they turned around and bombarded Su-Yi. Suddenly, the heaven-origin demonic soul in Su-Yi's mind shone brightly. The aura of the origin ancestor realm burst out from him. With a shake of his wrist, a mysterious streamer enveloped Su-Yi again. Ah! As if it had encountered the most terrifying thing in the world, the flower stem let out a horrible shriek again. The thunderbolts that fell from the sky were like electric arcs. Instead, they turned all the petals and vines upside down. Streaks of purple thunderbolts burst out from the sky with terrifying energy. In an instant, the entire sky was cleaned up. At this moment, the voice from the flower stem had turned into a low and frightened voice. It was like a barbaric demonic beast that was crawling on the ground. It was respectful and solemn. Seeing this, Su-Yi stretched out his palm. The aura of the Origin Supreme skill turned into a light sword and stabbed into the flower stem. Poof! The demonic aura exploded and the light shattered. The huge flower demon fighting platform disappeared in an instant. Su-Yi returned to Long Yu and Duguyuma with the essence of the heavenly stamen in his hand. The three of them were shaking unsteadily as the flower demon fighting platform collapsed. After a short while, the three of them landed on the ground. Su-Yi looked at the essence of the heavenly stamen in his hand. It was a flower holder that was very similar to the one on the fighting platform. It was full of demonic aura, but it was very different from what he had imagined. Is this the heavenly stamen glaze? Long Yu looked curiously at the item in Su-Yi's hand. The more she looked at it, the more confused she became. Duguyuma looked at the flower demon fighting platform. Due to the extraction of the essence, it had become an empty space. He looked at Su-Yi and asked, "Is this what you are looking for?" Su-Yi nodded his head. In fact, he was very upset. The heavenly stamen glaze in front of him was very different from what he had seen in the Dragon Ancestors' medicine manual. However, Duguyuma and Long Yu had risked their lives to enter the desolate engulfing heavenly beast for the same thing. How could he let them down? He put the flower holder into his interspatial bag and forced a smile. Yes, I finally found it. Chapter 2276. Really? Long Yu cheered and almost jumped up. She smiled at Su-Yi. Duguyuma also felt relieved and said happily, "That's great. I've finally helped you with something." Su-Yi recalled how Duguyuma had rushed into the deep-sea realm alone. He was still fearful and said reproachfully, "Miss Dugu, you don't have to do so much for me. If the glazed heavenly stamen is stained with your blood, how am I supposed to live with myself?" After saying that, the three of them fell silent. Duguyuma smiled faintly and said, "I open my eyes for you. Of course, it's natural for me to use my eyes to do something for you. I didn't think too much about it." You. Su-Yi let out a long sigh in his heart. The children in front of him had great affection for him, and Su-Yi's heart was instantly filled with a gentle warmth. Boom! As Su-Yi finished his words, the godly cloud in the sky suddenly burst open. Numerous incomparably enormous pitch-black cracks suddenly spread out, accompanied by a terrifying rumble that seemed like the sky was collapsing and the earth was caving in. It resounded through the heavens and the earth and spread to the 9 heavens. Soon, the aura of the entire Tianfeng ruins started to thin. The three of them had a premonition that the space was about to collapse. What happened? Duguyuma's eyes moved slightly as he looked at the sky. His blue eyes were filled with fear. Su-yi and Longya could guess what had happened. Longya's eyes were filled with helplessness. Su-yi's green robe fluttered. He smiled at Duguyuma and said, "It's nothing. A few people are fighting with the desolate engulfing heavenly beast." Fighting? With the desolate engulfing heavenly beast? Duguyuma was even more frightened when he heard Su-yi's words. The desolate engulfing heavenly beast was a terrifying savage beast. If he did not have the blue crystal double moon eyes, how many people in the world could fight with the desolate engulfing heavenly beast? One could only imagine how terrifying his strength was. In an instant, Su-yi stopped smiling. His expression was indifferent as he said, "Longya, do you want to stay here or go see your grandfather?" "I'll go out with you," Longya finally said after thinking for a while. "I'll go with you," Duguyuma said to Su-yi with a pale face. Su-yi shook his head and quickly summoned the primeval chaos ancient bell. The ancient and ethereal chi shrouded Duguyuma as he said softly, "The battle will be intense later. Let Uncle Hong take care of you. You've done enough for me." Seeing the determination in Su-yi's eyes, Duguyuma listened to his heart for the first time and nodded obediently. "What beautiful eyes! Little kid, come to Grandpa." Chi Feihong smiled kindly and called Duguyuma into the ancient bell. Su-yi also handed over the heavenly stamen glaze he had just obtained to Uncle Hong, instructing him to study it carefully. Su-yi didn't have the time to consider whether this was the real heavenly crystal pistol or not. Longya was used to Su-yi's shocking actions. She looked at Su-yi calmly as he put away the ancient bell and looked at the space crack in the sky. "Sky-piercing golden dragon finger, open!" Su-yi shouted. In an instant, Su-yi's green robe fluttered like a graceful swan. Accompanied by the roar of a golden dragon, golden light spread out from his knuckles. The entire sky was instantly filled with howling winds. The sky darkened and the clouds surged. When the golden light from his finger shot up to the sky, the dark aura in the space crack in the distance fluctuated and trembled. The dark space crack spread out instantly and the arc of the space crack increased by a few notches. The domineering aura of the dragon was unparalleled. Under the guidance of the roaring thunder, Su-yi's aura suddenly became violent. The flames under his feet surged and he rushed toward the space crack. He was like a golden dragon soaring and roaring for thousands of miles. Behind him, an equally terrifying aura of the golden dragon followed Su-yi's footsteps and rushed into the space crack. In the dark space, it had become a world of vital chi light. Under the bright light, the golden dragon, white tiger and white dragon surrounded the desolate devouring heavenly beast tightly. The mountain-sized desolation engulfing heaven beast sat on the ground, panting heavily. The smell of blood spread throughout the space along with the airflow. Scarlet blood flowed down from its chest and gradually gathered into a shocking river. "This beast is really difficult to deal with." Spear Ghost and Hu Chi, who had lower cultivation, led the group to face the desolate devouring heavenly beast. They were full of fear. "Rumble!" Long Kue stood in the air and looked at the desolate devouring heavenly beast with a cold expression. The golden dragon behind him was like an unshakable rock. Its lifelike dragon claws were reaching toward the desolate devouring heavenly beast. In an instant, the dazzling golden light spread across the sky and the thunderous roar resounded through the sky. "Hold on tight. Su-yi is still in this beast's stomach. Don't slack off." Long Kue was furious. In a short moment, the three groups of people stepped forward at the same time. The dazzling vital chi shadows gathered again and the endless energy surged, ready to take down the desolate devouring heavenly beast in one fell swoop. "Come on, despicable humans. I'm not afraid of you." The desolate devouring heavenly beast stood up again. Its body was 5,000 to 6,000 meters long, and its roar shook the sky. Suddenly, the demonic chi spread across the sky and the violent airflow shattered a large area of space again, setting off huge waves. Open its stomach for me. Long Kuei's heart was filled with Su-yi. He specially ordered the people not to kill the desolate devouring heavenly beast. He was afraid that Su-yi would die in the space in its stomach. If Su-yi died because of it, the loss would outweigh the gain. In the next moment the people shouted loudly. The tiger roared and the dragon roared. Their terrifying power shook the sky and earth. The ancient and desolate aura was like a group of beasts fighting for supremacy, covering the sky. 3 shadows and 1 beast, facing each other across the sky. Rumble! At this moment, the desolate devouring heavenly beast's demonic chi also surged. It moved its fists and lightning flashed. The destructive lightning whizzed out and rushed toward the 3 forces. Rumble! Its huge body dragged a pitch-black space crack and directly pierced through the space. In an instant, the white tiger and white dragon turned into light shadows and attacked the desolate devouring heavenly beast from both sides. At this moment, the dragon's roar resounded and golden light gushed out. The huge golden dragon was extremely ferocious, and it shot toward the sky. The ancient and vast aura suddenly smashed into the desolate devouring heavenly beast's stomach. Rumble! The space was completely shaken. The huge desolate devouring heavenly beast shook violently. Its stomach, which was as hard as iron, cracked open instantly. Countless cracks spread out like a spider web. The whole space kept exploding. Looking from afar, the mountain-like black figure cut through the space and retreated thousands of meters. High up in the sky, the lightning fan and thunder roared. A ray of light shot out from the desolate devouring heavenly beast's mouth, shaking the universe and resounding through the sky. What a powerful aura! How can there be such a powerful aura? Is that kid out? Is he out? Long Kuei shouted. His eyes were full of anticipation as he looked at the place where the light was surging. Chapter 2277. The air was filled with a horrifying pressure. Under the light, ripples were turbulent. A green robe fluttered in the wind as he stood in the air. The light energy around his body was like a stream of light that broke through the air and lingered in front of him. It was Su-yi who had jumped out from the stomach of the desolation devouring heaven beast. Long family, divine tiger sect, sky dragon sect, long time no see. Su-yi's lips curled up slightly, and a ghostly light flashed in his deep eyes. At this time, behind him, a light gradually surged from all directions. The golden dragon's roar resounded through the heavens and the earth. A lifelike golden dragon shadow bloomed in the void like fireworks, and a horrifying energy with an extreme destructive aura swept over. If this familiar golden figure was not Longya, who else could it be? When the 3 groups of people saw the light fall, their pupils trembled violently, and they all thought that they had seen wrongly. Miss Longya? Elder Spear Ghost held his long spear, and a murderous aura suddenly stopped. He looked at Elder Long Kuei in disbelief. Suddenly, all the martial artists, including those from the Sky Dragon sect, kept quiet out of fear and did not dare to speak loudly. Long Kuei's granddaughter and Su-yi had come out of the stomach of the desolate devouring heavenly beast at the same time. What did this mean? After thinking about it carefully, Spear Ghost and Hu-chi showed an embarrassed expression at the same time. Then, the corners of their mouths twitched and they sneered. Longya, why are you here? Get over here. When Long Kuei saw his granddaughter and Su-yi together, his face turned purple, and he shouted loudly. Longya, your grandpa is calling you. Go over quickly. Su-yi smiled at Longya, and his warm eyes revealed a sense of determination, as if to say, no matter what, I will always be behind you. Since she had chosen to come out with him, she would be open and aboveboard. There was no need to be afraid of anyone. Longya's eyes flickered, and the moment she met Su-yi's eyes, she calmed down. Then, the golden light around her flickered and the light was released. It turned into a golden dragon shadow, and came to Long Kuei's side with its head held high. Long Ye, how dare you? You ran out of the heavenly palace again. Long Kuei lowered his voice. His steel-like face was filled with disappointment and anger as he pulled Long Ye aside. Grandfather, Long Ye wanted to say something but hesitated. An indescribable complicated emotion surged between her brows. Long Kuei's eyes flashed like lightning, as if he could see through people's hearts. He stared at Long Ye and whispered, "Why are you with Sui? Did you run out of the heavenly palace just for Sui?" Grandfather Long Kuei's questioning was like a sharp pain in Long Ye's heart. Long Ye could not lie to her closest family in the world. She nodded in agreement and looked at Long Kuei. The latter could no longer hold back his surging killing intent and anger. "You've been distracted ever since you came back from the cloud state. It has nothing to do with Long Tsang. It's because of this brat, right?" Long Kuei sneered. His tightly clenched fists trembled slightly. The golden dragon aura that had already surged out of his body made Long Kuei look like a god of death. Long Ye knew that her grandfather was still restraining his emotions. She shook her head and said, No, Grandfather, I don't know what wrong Sui has done. Why must the Long family kill him? Grandfather, didn't you teach me to be kind and benevolent? Why are you here? What are you doing here? What do you know? Long Kuei glared at her. His fierce eyes were like those of a dragon. Then he lowered his voice and said, "This is the great plan of the Dragon Palace. You're my granddaughter. How can you be with this brat? How can my Long Kuei family stand in the heavenly palace if word gets out?" On the other side, Sui was relieved to see that Long Kuei did not fly into a rage against Long Ye. Looking around, the people from Sky Dragon Sect and Divine Tiger Sect were filled with wariness. Layer after layer of killing intent swept out like tidal wave. Sui, on the other hand, calmed down and fixed his gaze on the desolate engulfing heaven beast behind him. Maybe it was because it was seriously injured, but the desolate devouring heavenly beast's body had shrunk a lot. However, it was still 4 or 5 times the size of Sui. Lofty and domineering, majestic and powerful. "You can change your size?" Sui looked at the desolate devouring heavenly beast, who was seeing stars and bleeding from its abdomen, and asked in confusion. The desolate devouring heavenly beast closed its eyes and nodded at Sui. It was obvious that the desolate devouring heavenly beast had been seriously injured in the previous battle. At this moment, even if he wanted to speak, he would need to exert a great deal of strength. Then, Sui's eyes flashed and he said to the desolate devouring heavenly beast, "I'll save you. How about we deal with these people together?" "You!" The desolate devouring heavenly beast opened its eyes and looked at Sui. Then it said in a low voice, "You have the aura of my master. Who are you?" Suddenly, Sui put his hands behind his back and moved his eyebrows. A dozen bottles of spiritual liquid had already landed on the desolate devouring heavenly beast's body. Sui's voice slowly entered the desolate devouring heavenly beast's ears and said, "Put all these spiritual liquid on your wounds. I'll leave the rest to you." "What master are you talking about?" "We'll talk about it later." Looking at Sui's back, the desolate devouring heavenly beast's eyes flashed for the first time. It said softly, "Okay, clang." A series of crisp sounds exploded. The spiritual liquid was like a viscous agent that quickly closed up the desolate devouring heavenly beast's wounds. A vast and ancient aura filled the air. The desolate devouring heavenly beast, who was gradually able to regain its consciousness, had tears in its eyes. In its eyes, Sui's back was gradually transforming into its past self. At that time, the desolate devouring heavenly beast was still very weak. Under the iron skin, it was as black as a small stone. No matter where it went, it was the most inconspicuous existence. However, in the ancient times, the desolate devouring heavenly beast suffered all kinds of torture. Even if it was riddled with wounds, the desolate devouring heavenly beast's eyes were always surging with an unyielding radiance. Master! The desolate devouring heavenly beast once again recognized Su-Yi as its master. Its gaze fell on the spiritual liquid on its chest. It was suffused with an ancient aura, causing the desolate devouring heavenly beast to erupt with an ancient aura. Impudent! Longya, you've disappointed me too much. Long Kuei roared angrily. The dispute between him and Longya instantly erupted. Behind him, Spear Ghost and Elder Hu-Chi saw the changes in the aura of Su-Yi and the desolate devouring heavenly beast. They couldn't wait and said to Long Kuei, Elder Long Kuei, that beast has recovered. In an instant, everyone's gaze was focused on Su-Yi and the desolate devouring heavenly beast. Previously, Spear Ghost and Hu-Chi were certain that the desolate devouring heavenly beast had swallowed Su-Yi. However, when everyone saw that Su-Yi didn't run away and the desolate devouring heavenly beast was seriously injured, they didn't pay much attention to it. Chapter 2278. However, the aura that exploded in the sky once again cast a layer of haze over everyone's hearts. A bad premonition instantly surged in their hearts. Long Kuei pushed Longya behind him and looked at Su-Yi and the desolate devouring heavenly beast with boundless killing intent in his eyes. He said, Brat, you're really something. You've even set your sights on me. Today, I'll let you die without a burial place. Come on, old thief. I'll keep you company. Su-Yi sneered. Immediately, the vast dark space surged again. The surrounding martial artist's eyes were instantly filled with fear. The destructive energy spread out once again. Everyone looked at Su-Yi's skyrocketing aura and were secretly shocked. A young man of about 20 years old actually had the cultivation of a 7th-level origin ancestor and could come out safely from the desolate devouring heavenly beast's stomach. Perhaps everyone would want to find out what kind of secrets Su-Yi had with such a miracle. Immediately, the three groups of people shouted. Suddenly, it was as if a torrent had collapsed between heaven and earth. Three extremely terrifying shadows instantly soared into the sky. A golden dragon, a white tiger, and a white horned dragon each took one side. The collapsed dark space lit up once again. Desolate devouring heavenly beast, lend me a hand! Su-Yi shouted. Currently, the Long family, Sky Dragon sect, and Divine Tiger sect had sent out their strongest forces. They were all at the origin domain realm. Such a scale was much more terrifying than the siege of a few thousand origin emperors. Without the help of the desolate devouring heavenly beast, Su-Yi knew that even if he escaped today, he would have to pay a terrible price. Rumble! Terrifying thunderclouds rose once again. The incomparably huge aura instantly sucked the water out of the dark space completely. Within the dark space, the thunderclouds surged. The desolate devouring heavenly beast roared and instantly stood up. Although its current size was not as huge as before, it was still as tall as a small mountain. The desolate devouring heavenly beast held Su-Yi in its palm. On its black iron palm, Su-Yi's green robe fluttered in the wind. His entire body was enveloped by an unparalleled amount of pressure. The heavenly might rolled like a god, looking down on the heavens and earth. Everyone present, including Longya, was stunned. Their eyes were filled with fear as if they had been petrified. Weren't Su-Yi and Longya sucked into the stomach of the desolate devouring heavenly beast at the same time? How did the desolate devouring heavenly beast suddenly become Su-Yi's combat strength? From the looks of it, the desolate devouring heavenly beast seemed to be obedient to Su-Yi. Could it have recognized Su-Yi as its master in such a short period of time? This strange phenomenon, which had never been seen or heard of before, caused everyone to stop in their tracks. Don't waver. No matter what, let's kill this kid together. Today, either he dies or I die. His granddaughter had failed to live up to his expectations, and the desolate devouring heavenly beast's strength had already recovered. This made Long Kue even more furious. Long Kue suddenly gave the order, causing all the experts behind him to return to their senses, and then their origin domain realm auras surged like ghosts as they blasted explosively towards Su-Yi. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. The three enormous divine beast phantoms once again swept over like lightning. In the violent space, dragon roars shook the sky, tiger roars sounded continuously, and the white hornless dragon released an extremely terrifying and cold sound wave that rumbled in the air. In an instant, Su-Yi's figure also began to move. Su-Yi and the desolate devouring heavenly beast's voices seemed to merge into one as they simultaneously said to the lightning-like silhouettes, "Kill!" The Origin Supreme technique was crazily activated, and a vast primordial storm surged out. In an instant, a mysterious light covered the space, and an enormous and terrifying pressure swept across heaven and earth, causing people to feel a sense of insignificance in their hearts. Among the crowd present, only Su-Yi and the desolate devouring heavenly beast knew what kind of tacit understanding they had. The two of them were like natural battle partners, and their auras were connected to each other. Even the aura they exhaled was exactly the same. Am I really the owner of the desolate devouring heavenly beast? Otherwise, how could it be connected to my primordial origin supreme technique? Su-Yi suddenly had such an illusion the moment his figure flew out. Crossing the space, Su-Yi had already completely displayed the desolate destroying heavenly star on the palm of the desolate devouring heavenly beast. Su-Yi's body was covered by the divine bell, and the mysterious runes lingered around him. A terrifying surge of power helped the desolate devouring heavenly beast to unleash its demonic aura to the extreme. Under the shroud of Su-Yi's aura, the desolate devouring heavenly beast, who was originally evenly matched with the three parties, seemed to be assisted by God, and its eyes shot out an extremely fierce light. Boom! The sound of wind and thunder was sonorous, and at this moment, the divine beast phantoms that looked like a phoenix and a dragon surged around the desolate devouring heavenly beast's black body. Su-Yi's left arm trembled, and he commanded the front. A cold order came down, and he said, "Destroy them!" Roar! The desolate devouring heavenly beast, who was getting more and more courageous, suddenly waved its right hand, as if it was driving the energy between heaven and earth. A gale suddenly rose, and the powerful gale that was visible to the naked eye was violent and fierce. Suddenly, countless pitch-black space cracks appeared densely. Bang! The energy light fist was invincible, and it easily removed the shackles of space. Wind and thunder shrouded the fist, and it directly swept past the three divine beast phantoms. Suddenly, an extreme pressure connected the three divine beast phantoms together in one go. One punch to hit three divine beasts. Only three earth-shattering rumbles were heard, and within the violent space, the divine beast phantoms were smashed to pieces. The crazy space fluctuation was like a stormy sea, causing a large area of space to constantly distort. The sound of the explosion had not yet faded away, and the crazy space fluctuation was still continuing. The three divine beasts separated, and it was the best opportunity for Su-Yi to defeat them one by one. Take advantage of this opportunity, kill the people of the Divine Tiger sect and the Sky Dragon sect first. Su-Yi shouted loudly. At this time, Long Kue and the Long family, who were implicated, retreated thousands of meters back, and could only watch as Su-Yi attacked separately. They could not help at all. The key point was, no one expected that under the cover of Su-Yi's light, the desolate devouring heavenly beast could produce such a terrifying power. Bang! Bang! The two fists, which were like collapsing mountains, once again hit the Divine Tiger sect and the Sky Dragon sect. Then, a shrill roar flew out from the hands of Spear Ghost and Elder Hu-Chi, and suddenly, a large area of violent space trembled endlessly. Everyone, disperse. Seeing this, Hu Qi knew that he could not stop the berserk, desolate devouring heavenly beast. Suddenly, his ferocious eyes were filled with killing intent, and his ferocious face was incomparably fierce. Divine Tiger Sect, today's death, I will tell sect leader Shangguan. Help this old man delay it, and it can be considered as a contribution to this hunt. On the other side, Elder Spear Ghost quickly understood and also came out, and a terrifying spear shadow was placed in front of him. In the violent dark space, Hu Qi's saber light was awe-inspiring, and the spear shadow was unpredictable. Suddenly, he forcibly pulled out a small escape space under the fist wind of the desolate devouring heavenly beast. Chapter 2279. It's you. Su Yi's eyes were trembling, and blood instantly condensed in the depths of his pupils. In an instant, Su Yi saw clearly the weapons used by Hu Qi and Spear Demon. His eyes gradually became gloomy, and his face gradually became gloomy. He shouted loudly, "You two old thieves, the blood feud on Demon Mountain was caused by you." The terrifying fist wind accompanied by the lightning swept across the sky. The golden light was dazzling, and it was fierce and murderous. The aura of the desolate engulfing heavenly beast spread out and exploded along the way, and a terrifying sea of fire swept across the sky and earth. Suddenly, the desolate engulfing heavenly beast's lightning fist whistled through the dark space. In the dark space, more than a dozen super powerhouses from the Sky Dragon Sect and the Divine Tiger Sect were heavily pressured by the huge force. They all spat out blood and were sent flying backward. Under the influence of Su Yi's Origin Supreme technique, the desolate engulfing heavenly beast, which had recovered, was actually so terrifying. In an instant, a terrifying cry resounded through the sky. All the powerhouses did not expect that the desolate engulfing heavenly beast could continue to strengthen. On the other side, after hearing Su Yi's words, Hu Qi, Spear Demon, and Elder Long Kuei, who was farther away, were all shocked. Before they came, the Long family had begun to suspect that Su Yi had an unclear relationship with Tian Yao School. Now it was confirmed. Su Yi was from Tian Yao School. Chi La. Little bastard, it's really you. That old guy sent you away that year. What a pity. He didn't eliminate the root of the problem, and let you develop to this point. Hu Qi's ferocious eyes revealed a trace of a sneer. He did not have the slightest remorse for the tragedy on Demon Mountain. Spear Demon also curled the corner of his mouth, and stared coldly at Su Yi. The lightning spear in his hand drew a space ripple in the air. Spear Demon said to Su Yi, "So what? Boy, even if you can defeat us today, you will definitely die in the future. Even if we don't kill you today, we will make you a ghost in the mountain, just like the remaining divine monster." After that, Elder Chang Gui turned to Long Kuei and said, "Elder Long Kuei, we'll make a move first. As for the Dragon God, the Long Eagle Sect Master will personally hand it over to him. I'll have to trouble you to delay him for a while." Now, the desolate engulfing heavenly beast's momentum was not weaker than before, and only Elder Long Kuei could stall for time. Therefore, Spear Ghost and Hu Qi knew that it was meaningless for them to stay. "You are not allowed to leave," Su Yi shouted as he activated the Origin Supreme technique. Su Yi, who was in the air, had already turned into a fiery light as he rushed towards Spear Ghost and Elder Hu Qi. The battle at the Spirit Ancient Village had long become an indelible nightmare in Su Yi's heart. Today they had finally found the culprit. Only by fighting to the end would they be able to pay tribute to the heroic spirits of the Spirit Ancient Village. Today, even if these two were dragons or tigers, Su Yi would pull out a few of their teeth. Swish! Swish! The light under Su Yi's feet shone brightly as the power of the Emperor Sparrow and the Golden Dragon was fully unleashed. The powerful energy waves were like a roaring flood. However, as Su Yi was chasing after them, He could feel an even more powerful golden dragon's aura coming from behind him, causing the entire space to tremble rapidly. The black cave seemed to have exploded as a ferocious golden dragon pierced through the space and headed straight for Spear Ghost. Hu Chi, Spear Ghost. Did I say that you can leave? The one who came was Long Kuei. His powerful energy lifted his long robe as he bent his right hand into a claw and aimed directly at Spear Ghost's spear. Boom! The claw was light, but it contained an unparalleled golden dragon's aura. Long Kuei raised his eyebrows as a ferocious light shot out. Suddenly, a destructive shock wave blasted onto Spear Ghost's body, shattering his silver spear. Spear Ghost was like a cannonball that was sent flying backwards into the dark space. When Hu Chi saw this, Yuan Qi gathered under his feet. The terrifying scene made Hu Chi's expression change rapidly as he mumbled, "Why? Long Kuei, what are you doing?" At this time, Long Kuei was already injured. In addition to the fact that he had used up all his Yuan Qi, he spat out a mouthful of blood. His cold gaze shifted from Su Yi to Hu Chi as he said coldly, "Go back. It's impossible that the dragon god doesn't know what Ye-er has done. Haha, you want to leave just because of this?" Long Kuei could not stand steadily as he stood at the side. Su Yi's expression changed instantly. It turned out that Long Kuei was helping Long Ye to cover up her relationship with Su Yi. In other words, Long Kuei also knew that it was difficult for him to survive, and Long Ye could not be implicated. "Grandfather!" Long Ye quickly rushed forward and supported Long Kuei. Her eyes were already filled with tears. Everyone present was shocked. The people from Sky Dragon Sect, Divine Tiger Sect, and Long family all sucked in a breath of cold air. Based on this, Long Kuei was going to protect Long Ye to the end. Those who knew about this matter would not be able to survive. Su Yi, the desolation-devouring heaven beast, and Long Kuei together could deal with these injured Yuan domain experts. Even if they had to spend some effort, it was not impossible to annihilate them all. Long Kuei, do you think Su Yi will let you go just because of this? Do I need to remind you of what your Long family has done? Spear Ghost's eyes trembled as a bad premonition surged in his heart. A cold light flashed in his eyes as he looked at Long Kuei. Long Kuei put his hand on Long Ye's shoulder, his eyes cold, as he looked at Su Yi and said, "I will bear the Long family's debt, but what I want is your death." Rumble. Long Kuei and Su Yi signaled each other with their eyes. Su Yi returned to the palm of the desolate engulfing heaven beast. The man and the beast's energy waves spread out crazily, aiming at the remaining warriors of the Long family. At the same time, Long Kuei and Long Ye set off another violent fluctuation in the dark space. In an instant, a golden dragon's roar resounded through heaven and earth. Suddenly, in front of Long Kuei, an aura of a golden dragon that could destroy everything in the world spiraled into a dimensional space. The domineering destructive power made Spear Demon realize that his death was imminent. His soul trembled as if it had suffered a heavy blow. "No. Long Kuei, you will regret this," Spear Ghost roared. His pupils gradually widened as the golden dragon's energy in his eyes suddenly filled up. The golden dragon's roar was followed by a domineering shock wave. The sound of explosions was like a series of explosions, causing people's ears to ring. Spear Ghost, who was hit by the shock wave, was completely turned into a hollow corpse. Behind him, the dazzling light continued to burst forth. The desolation-devouring heaven beast, which was killing in all directions, swung its heavy fists. It was like 1,000 mountains were galloping over. Dozens of figures were sent flying like broken kites. At this moment, in the dark space, there was a rain of blood. In just a few moments, dozens of top experts from the heavenly barbarian territory were beaten to the point that they could not fight back. They were lying on the ground, dying. After killing Spear Ghost, Long Kuei staggered back with blood flowing out of his mouth. Fortunately, Long Ye was by his side to take care of him. Long Ye could not stop sobbing as she looked at Long Kue. Chapter 2280. Long Ye knew that Long Kue was doing all this for her sake. If it were not for her, it would be easy for Long Kue to leave. Stupid girl, you still have the cheek to cry? Long Kue smiled bitterly. His white beard was stained red as he patted Long Ye's head. His eyes were filled with reproach and blame. At this moment, the desolate devouring heavenly beast carried Su-yi and walked over slowly with ferocious steps. Heaven and earth shook and the void roared. Its black body was like a black mountain, giving off an invisible pressure. The desolate devouring heavenly beast's thundercloud eyes shone brightly, intimidating all who looked at it. Su-yi, you can't hurt my grandfather. Long Ye stood in front of Long Kue, her tear-stained face was filled with fear. Long Kue, who was tightly protected, had a kind and warm look in his eyes for the first time. He looked at the green-robed Su-yi on the black palm and said softly, Long Ye, step aside. Some things are destined to be resolved. You're right. There are some things that need to be said. Su-yi curled his lips. The desolation-devouring heaven beast beneath him had already annihilated all the disciples of the Sky Dragon sect, Divine Tiger sect, and Long family. It rushed to Long Kue's front, and its eyes were filled with killing intent. Despicable human, how dare you make me look so miserable? Master, let me kill this guy with one punch. These people from the Long family are too despicable. As soon as it finished speaking, the desolate devouring heavenly beast's terrifying aura surged again. Its huge body charged toward Long Kue, its terrifying aura twisting the surrounding space. Swish. Seeing this, Long Ye closed her eyes and opened her arms, blocking Long Kue's attack without hesitation. She tilted her head slightly to the side, not daring to look. The invincible chi that covered the sky blew Long Ye's blonde hair up high. Hold on! Su-yi shouted. The black mountain-like fist formed a sharp contrast with Long Ye's body. The fist suddenly stopped half an inch away from Long Ye. The desolate devouring heavenly beast looked at Su-yi in confusion. It was as if it was asking why Su-yi had shown mercy to the Long clan. Suddenly, Long Kue, who was seriously injured, saw his granddaughter block the shocking punch for him. He was so scared that his face turned pale. He quickly pulled Long Ye back and checked her injuries. He then said, Boy, the three families have fallen into your hands today. This old man is willing to exchange my life for Ye-er's life. If you dare to hurt my Ye-er, I will make you suffer even if I have to risk my life. Grandfather! Long Ye turned around with tears in her eyes. She turned to Su-yi and said, Su-yi, no, please let my grandfather go. Whatever you want to do, I will do as you say. The two of them were fighting to plead for each other. Su-yi's eyes were fixed on Long Kue. His cold eyes could not hide the strong killing intent in them as he said indifferently, Long Ye, the Long clan has done so many dirty things for the heavenly metal suppressing stone. They almost destroyed the entire Chaos realm. You want me to let him go? Just the Bawang sect alone has killed tens of thousands of disciples. Ask them if they can let him go? Ask the old, weak, sick, and weak people. Ask them if they can let him go? Suddenly, Long Ye's body trembled. She had been locked up in the heavenly palace for many years. Even if she knew about the Long clan's actions, she did not have such a thorough understanding. The tragedy of Shanglong village and the ruthlessness of Long Wen and Long Shan were still vivid in Long Ye's mind. At that moment, Long Ye lowered her head dejectedly. She couldn't refute Su-yi's words. His and his grandfather's lives were important, but were the lives of those innocent villagers and the martial artists who were implicated not important? Long Ye choked and tears welled up in her eyes. She heard Long Kue say loudly behind her, Boy, everyone has different standpoints and goals. Don't hurt Ye-er with the heart-piercing skill. Ye-er is kind and has nothing to do with these things. Don't force her. After saying that, Long Kuei stood up from the ground with difficulty. His hunched body could not support his weak body. He staggered but still stubbornly stood in the same place. Facing the heavenly beast, Long Kuei was still shocked by Su-yi. Until now, Long Kuei still could not understand why Su-yi was able to tame the desolate engulfing heavenly beast after coming out of his stomach. "Brat, you can take this old man's life away," Long Kuei said righteously. There was no sign of compromise in his cold eyes. Instead, he was willing to die for the Long clan. After saying that, a golden glow surged out of Long Kuei's hand and locked Long Ye to the ground. No matter how she struggled, she could not break free. Her grandfather was willing to give up dozens of Yuan domain experts, and even his life for her. Within the light circle, Long Ye's eyes were about to burst. She painfully stretched out her hands to break free. Her aura was locked and she could only helplessly show pain in her eyes. "Come on, boy." Long Kuei walked past Long Ye and squatted down with difficulty. As if it was his last gentle reminder, Long Kuei looked at the tearful Long Ye and gently shook his hand as if to tell her to stop crying. "Silly girl, the result of this hunt will definitely alarm the dragon god. Even if you go back, you will not be able to escape punishment. Haven't you always wanted to escape from the Heaven Palace? After your grandfather's death, the world will be your home. But remember, you are the successor of the Golden Dragon. You must not lose the ambition of my Long Kuei bloodline." Long Kuei squeezed out a smile on his old face for the last time. He turned around and walked toward the surging, desolate, engulfing heaven beast. Looking up, Su-yi stood in the air. The Origin Supreme technique surged around him, as if he was connected to heaven and earth. In just a short moment, the desolate engulfing heaven beast could not wait any longer. It immediately punched out and the surrounding void collapsed. An aura that could destroy everything in the world descended into the dark space. Clang! A low roar suddenly sounded from Su-yi's heart. The Origin ancient bell with divine runes wrapped around it floated in the air and collided with the desolate engulfing heaven beast's fist. The domineering destructive force was irresistible. Under Long Kuei's astonished gaze, the extreme pressure of heaven and earth instantly swept across the sky. The dark space was directly shattered. The pitch-black crack directly flipped Long Kuei to the ground and swept across heaven and earth. Rumble! The earth quaked and the mountains shook. Long Kuei was instantly flipped over and shot toward Long Ye like a cannonball. The light circle shattered and Long Ye broke free and hugged Long Kuei tightly. At this moment, heaven and earth began to change color. In the pitch-black crack in the space, a dark space vortex began to condense. Su-yi walked across the sky as if he was stepping on the stars. He looked down at Long Kuei and said reluctantly, "Long Kuei, I will spare your old life today. If you want to thank me, thank you for having a good granddaughter." Chapter 2281. Su-yi. Long Ye looked at Su-yi in disbelief. Her eyes were bloodshot and she was extremely agitated. "Boy, if you don't kill me today, you won't have the chance in the future. Don't regret it." Long Kuei wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. There was a trace of surprise in his cold eyes. "I will destroy the Long family. Old bastard, your life is just a little longer. I just don't want Long Ye to be sad today. At that time, everything will come to an end. Win or lose, live or die, I will naturally get my revenge." The corner of Su-yi's mouth curled up. His cold steel-like face was filled with disdain. Su-yi could kill Long Kuei directly, but it was no different from killing Long Ye directly. Long Ye gave him the dragon armor geomancy map, so that he could go to the Yun family and send him a message from afar. He had to take revenge. Yes, Su-yi also had to thank her. Su-yi never wanted to owe anyone anything, but no one owed Su-yi anything, not even a little. "Long Ye, take your grandfather and leave. From now on, we don't owe each other anything. I thank you for what you did to me, Sui said coldly and turned his gaze away, afraid that he would change his mind. Long Ye stared at Sui, who was shrouded in holy light, and did not say anything for a long time until Long Kuei reminded her, let's go. Long Ye, who had just recovered from her sadness, nodded and helped Long Kuei up. Her eyes were full of disappointment. Boy, Hu Chi of the Divine Tiger Sect is also a member of the Demon Mountain, but he escaped. Long Kuei reminded him. I will take care of it. Next time we will meet in the Heavenly Palace. I will not show mercy. Sui said coldly and turned his back on them. Sui did not turn around until Long Ye and Long Kuei left the dark space. Sui watched as the gigantic spatial crack in the sky gradually closed up. Only then did the murderous intent in his eyes fade away. Master, why did you let them go just now? The desolate devouring heavenly beast also began to withdraw its aura and put Sui down from its palm. Without the enemy, the desolate devouring heavenly beast's body began to shrink. It looked even smaller than an ordinary savage beast. Looking at the pocket-sized desolate swallowing heaven-shocking beast, which looked like a black iron rock with eyes, Sui's lips curled up slightly, and he said with a smile, Since you call me master, then I'll do you a favor today. I promise you, you can go ahead and take your revenge. The desolate devouring heaven beast nodded its black head, and its naive look made Sui smile in his heart. Who would have thought that such a huge demonic beast that could devour heaven's earth could turn into such an adorable and delicate appearance? You said that I'm your master. Have you seen your master? Sui squatted down and stared at the desolate devouring heaven beast. Turning around, the desolate devouring heaven beast heaved a sigh of relief and sat down on the ground. The demonic aura around his body started to circulate slowly, and he actually started to heal himself. Lei Yun's shining eyes kept blinking, and he said in a muffled voice, I've only seen Master's appearance, although it's not quite the same as you. But I know what Master's aura is like. You have it too. You are the Master, there's no mistake about it. The desolate engulfing heaven-shocking beast's eyes narrowed. As it spoke, it moved closer to Sui. Such a strange answer caused Sui to frown. This desolation engulfing heavenly beast that was hard to come by in 10,000 years actually spoke so preposterously. Just based on this, it had acknowledged him as its master? Speaking of which, could it be that his luck had overturned the heavens? No matter how Sui thought about it, he still felt like he was in a dream to be able to pick up such a great ancient demon at the 9th tier of the demon domain for no reason. Why don't you tell me about your past? How did you meet your master? The slightly tired Sui took the opportunity to sit cross-legged beside the desolate engulfing heaven-shocking beast. Forming a hand seal, Sui started to circulate the Origin Supreme technique. Suddenly, he realized that the aura around the desolate engulfing heaven-shocking beast seemed to be resonating with him, and it also started to erupt with a turbulent heavenly might. This caused Sui to be shocked again. 10,000 years ago, the Sky Barbarian mainland was a desolate land. Great ancient demons gathered everywhere, and demonic aura was everywhere. Heroes fought for supremacy. And I was just a small stone, dark and swarthy. I was never liked by the great demons. Even ordinary wolf demons and tiger demons could find a place to belong, but I only had the fate of being bullied. As it spoke, the desolate engulfing heaven-shocking beast seemed to have mentioned something sad. Its pitch-black body trembled slightly, and it looked extremely strange. Sui sighed secretly. This was the logic of the strong staying strong, and the weak staying weak. It was a truth that could not be escaped in any era. What happened after that? Sui's gaze became much gentler. He looked at the desolate engulfing heaven-shocking beast as if he was looking at his own younger brother or sister. After that, I found a stone. It shone brightly and shone brilliantly. At first, I thought it was just for fun. Later, I realized that it contained an extremely large amount of heaven and earth energy. Later on, it could actually release energy. Because of this, my demonic aura kept increasing. My body kept growing bigger, and my cultivation kept increasing. At this point, the desolate devouring heavenly beast's eyes were filled with shock. It continued, slowly. I felt that it was intentionally or unintentionally guiding me in a certain direction. It was because of it that I became strong. So, I followed this little golden stone all the way. In the end, I entered a valley that looked like an altar. The golden dragon and phoenix were there too. Spirit's sacrifice abyss. Su Yi's eyes lit up. A layer of goosebumps appeared on his back, and his throat started to churn. The desolate engulfing heaven shocking beast tilted its head and looked at Su Yi doubtfully. It said, "So this is the name of that place?" "That's right." When we arrived there, the golden stone suddenly released a vast aura. Master's aura instantly filled the sky. It was as if only Master's heavenly might existed in the sky and on the ground. The 12 divine beasts also rushed out from the abyss. That was the first time I saw Master. At that moment, I was sure that he was my Master. After a long time, the desolate engulfing heaven-shocking beast's heart was still shaken. After calming down, the desolate engulfing heaven-shocking beast continued to speak. Master told the divine beasts about how he lived in the heaven-suppressing divine artifact and joined the heaven barbarians before he died. He asked the divine beasts to help him return to the demon emperor's realm. The desolate engulfing heaven-shocking beast said seriously. Su Yi nodded. This was more or less the same as what the ice luan and the black tortoise said. His voice started to become hurried. He said, "Then how can we go back?" Master said that the heaven-suppressing divine artifact had already merged with his body. He still needed to find the 4 heaven-suppressing stones of earth, water, wind, and fire. As long as he could gather the 4 heaven-suppressing stones, the bell of chaos would completely reappear in the world. The successor of the demon emperor would obtain the demon emperor's inheritance. He would be able to kill his way back to the demon emperor's realm and take back everything. Chapter 2282. And this golden heaven-suppressing stone was obtained by the demon emperor's master by chance. When he was about to die, he threw it into the sky barbarian world. The desolate devouring heavenly beast recalled the scene and explained in detail. However, when he heard this, Su Yi's heart was already filled with excitement. Especially when he heard about the 4 heaven-suppressing stones of earth, water, wind and fire, Su Yi's heart instantly boiled. All the strange things about the mysterious space coincidentally proved that the primordial chaos ancient bell was a heaven-suppressing divine artifact. The 4 spirit springs existed within the light of the primordial chaos ancient bell. Didn't that mean that the 4 heaven-suppressing stones were originally embedded in the primordial chaos ancient bell? However, Su Yi still didn't know why the primordial chaos ancient bell had the attributes of earth, water, wind and fire. Thinking of this, Su Yi's heart was filled with shock. There was no doubt that he was the Chaos Demon Emperor. "Boy, your origin is so mysterious?" Qi Feihong was extremely surprised. He licked his dry lips and looked at Su Yi again with incomparable respect and fear in his eyes. "The Chaos Demon Emperor, the master of all demons, so you are very good." The Iron Soulfish's voice slowly came out from the entrance. Just as Su Yi was about to reply, the Iron Soulfish disappeared again. These days, the Iron Soulfish's reactions were becoming more and more abnormal. It also spoke less and less. Unknowingly, this became a burden on Su Yi's mind. However, Su Yi didn't have time to think about the Iron Soulfish. Everything that happened back then? Did the Demon Emperor say anything else about what happened back then? Su Yi suppressed the churning thoughts in his heart and continued to ask the desolate devouring heavenly beast. Master, you should know what happened after that. The golden dragon and the phoenix split their remnant souls and looked for the fated person in the sky barbarian world. They wanted to find the demon emperor's successor and help the demon emperor find the heaven-suppressing stone. They wanted to kill their way back to the demon emperor's realm. And because of the water heaven-suppressing stone, the primordial chaos ancient bell was formed and entered the spirit's sacrifice abyss. The divine beasts believed that he was the chaos demon emperor. Su-yi sighed. Unfortunately, the divine beast's remnant souls had weakened. Before he could finish, the remnant soul of the divine beast had already dissipated. What happened in the demon peacock emperor's realm back then? Su-yi looked at the desolation engulfing heavenly beast. The shocking heavenly beast shook its head and said softly, "When the golden dragon and the phoenix left, I also left the abyss." The golden dragon and the phoenix told me to take the heaven-suppressing gold stone and travel all over the heaven barbarian continent. Many years later, I thought I had found a fated person, so I passed the heaven-suppressing golden stone to him. We even founded the Sky Wind Martial Pavilion together to develop human martial arts, allowing more and more people to find the other heaven-suppressing stones. Suddenly, Su-yi exploded. Waves after waves of emotions surged in his heart. He said in a low voice, "You actually founded the Tianfeng Martial Pavilion, and the Tianfeng Martial Pavilion exists to find the other 4 heaven suppression stones." Thinking of this, Su-yi shook his head and smiled helplessly. Speaking of which, all the human martial artists in the world should be grateful to the desolate devouring heaven beast. However, the human martial artists, who were supposed to find the heaven-suppressing stone, were fighting endlessly for the heaven-suppressing stone. Life is full of surprises indeed. It's a small world indeed. Su-yi touched the desolate devouring heaven beast's head. It was still a little prickly. He said softly, "So when the 5 aristocratic families attacked, you swallowed half of the Tianfeng Martial Pavilion to protect it? No wonder you hate the Long family so much." Su-yi nodded and muttered. The desolate devouring heaven beast touched its head embarrassedly. Its thick stone arms were a little cute. "Master, now that I, Tunton, am by your side, those despicable humans will definitely be killed. Master, I will help you kill your way back to the demon peacock emperor's realm and achieve great merit." The desolate devouring heaven beast laughed. Achieve great merit? Su-yi's heart was filled with questions. Even if he knew that he was the successor of the demon peacock emperor, he still needed to find the earth, water, wind and fire heaven-suppressing stones in order to fully activate the Chaos Ancient Bell according to what the demon peacock emperor had left behind. The gold heaven-suppressing stone followed the demon peacock emperor to the sky barbarian realm. As for the water heaven-suppressing stone, he found it from the Li family. Where were the other 3? It could be in the sky barbarian realm or in the extraterritorial realm. It's hard to say. Qi Feihong frowned slightly. His dim yellow eyes rolled around. If it was really in the extraterritorial realm, this path would be very difficult. The great immemorial calamity, and the demon peacock emperor's wedding before the storm all hid earth-shattering secrets. Find it wherever it is. For me and for the demon peacock emperor. Su-yi made up his mind and said to the desolate devouring heaven beast, "Tunton, since you have recognized me as your master, follow me from now on. Now that the people of the divine tiger sect have escaped, we have to quickly chase after them." Hearing this, Tunton's azure blue eyes welled up with tears. He nodded and said, Okay. With that, his small body quickly climbed up and moved his round body to the other side of the dark space. He said to Su-yi, "Master, wait a moment." Suddenly, the sound of wind whistling in the space was heard. An extremely powerful energy wind was stirred up from Tunton's body. A force that could destroy the world wrapped around the desolate, devouring heaven beast's fist and smashed it into the ground with all its might. Boom! In an instant, the earth shook and the mountains shook. The world roared. In the dark space, an extremely vast spiritual aura of the world surged down from the 9 heavens. The ferocious shockwave directly smashed the ground under his feet into pieces. After the sonic boom resounded, smoke and dust flew everywhere. Then, the energy of the world suddenly became extremely violent. An extremely large energy beam shot out from the depths of the earth. One! Sui looked over and raised his head to look at the light that surged up. Waves of emotions had already surfaced in his heart. Following the explosion of energy, a kind of energy that could make one's soul tremble filled the surroundings. Looking carefully, within the light, there was actually a glowing vine with mysterious runes that was constantly growing. As the light became more and more intense, the vine also grew leaves and branches. The huge pressure made one's soul tremble. Newborn spiritual herbs broke out from the ground. In the crazily surging ball of energy, the spiritual herbs that were constantly growing were crystal clear. Their distinct veins surged with a strange radiance. They swayed gently in the dark space, but they seemed so fragile. This is... Sui began to have an answer in his heart. He immediately used the primeval chaos ancient bell. Qi Feihong floated out from the bell and immediately took out the heavenly glass stamen flower receptacle from the martial pavilion ruins. Creak! The desolate devouring heaven beast pulled out the heavenly glass stamen flower receptacle from the ground. Rolling energy erupted from its body and tightly wrapped around the stem of the heavenly glass stamen flower receptacle. At the same time, the heavenly glass stamen flower receptacle in Qi Feihong's hand floated out from his hand. It fell below the heavenly glass stamen flower receptacle as if it was being pulled. The two merged into one. Chapter 2283. TSK. Light patterns surged and an overwhelming medicinal fragrance instantly filled the entire dark space. The incomparably dense energy of heaven and earth illuminated the sky as if it was cleansing everything in the world. At this moment, the entire void was filled with a strange light that was incomparably mysterious. Above the sky, thunderclouds surged and the heavens rumbled. The dark space was also as bright as day in an instant. Rolling and roaring thunderbolts crazily extended above the void, and the pitch-black space was filled with pitch-black cracks. The ferocious and majestic aura indicated that the ancient spiritual herb, the heavenly glass stamen, was about to be born. Qi La. As the last thunderbolt struck down, the heavenly glass stamen finally took shape amidst the light. The enchanting branches and leaves swayed continuously in the air. They were bright and translucent, like a piece of high-quality ancient jade. They were moist and silky, and there were traces of mystical light refracting from them. The mysterious light formed a vortex under the stamen, constantly releasing a vast amount of spiritual energy. It made one's heart tremble and one's eyes turn solemn. One had to know that this was an ancient spiritual herb that could only be seen once every 10,000 years. Lightning flashed brilliantly, and the divine clouds were like a huge net that covered the sky. Is this the real heavenly glass stamen? Sui was extremely excited as he looked at the desolation devouring heaven beast in the distance. Tuntun's eyes suddenly turned sharp, and her face turned cold. Her black hands suddenly moved in front of her, and demonic aura soared into the sky. A flood of energy carefully wrapped around the heavenly glass stamen. After half a breath, after some resistance, the heavenly glass stamen finally succumbed and shrunk until it was only the size of a palm. Tuntun then kept it in her arms. Huff! Tuntun let out a long sigh. It seemed that such fine control of demonic aura was also a burden for the big ancient demon. Holding the heavenly glass stamen in her hands, Tuntun ran excitedly towards Sui. Master, Tuntun doesn't have any gift for you. This is the heavenly glass stamen that the kid from the Sky Wind Marshall Pavilion planted back then. Tunton will give it to you today to show my respect for you." Tunton's eyes sparkled. Her words made Sue-E even more excited. It was really a case of searching high and low for something, only to find it by chance. Who would have thought that the heavenly glass stamen was planted by the Sky Wind Marshall Pavilion? Now that Tunton had followed him, he didn't have to search the continent for it. Then why is it divided into two parts? Sue-E opened the primordial ancient bell, and Chi Fei-hong hurriedly helped to plant the heavenly glass stamens into the spiritual field. At that time in the Marshall Pavilion ruins, he was surrounded by dangers. The Tian Xiangrui confused his mind, and it took a lot of twists and turns to subdue the flower receptacle of the Tian Xiangrui. Su tung chi tung. When the heavenly glass stone was passed to the first pavilion master of the Sky Wind Marshall Pavilion, the pavilion master found the heavenly glass stamen for Sue-E. But the heavenly glass stamen was divided into two parts, the pistil body and the flower body, which had the effect of awakening the soul and illusion the soul. It could help Sue-E cleanse his divine soul and control his mind. Therefore, when the 5 great families started to attack the Sky Wind Marshall Pavilion, the desolation-devouring heaven beast took the heavenly glass stamen away. After finding the dark space, Sue-E separated the pistil body and the flower body. The pistil body was planted in the dark space to help Sue-E control his mind. The flower receptacle, which had the ability to create illusions, was hidden in a small space that he had created. If someone really managed to break into the Tianfeng Marshall Pavilion and was able to withstand the flower receptacle's illusionary soul attack, he would have found another fated person and could entrust these matters to him. I see. You knew I had the Golden Dragon bloodline, so you didn't attack me directly. Instead, you swallowed me directly. Sue-E suddenly understood. Sue-E watched as Chi Fei-hong planted the heavenly glass stamen in the spiritual field. Instantly, the medicinal fragrance became stronger, and the energy swept out like a spiritual snake. A medium-sized energy storm poured out, mixed with the spiritual chi of heaven and earth. It circulated endlessly, giving off an ancient vibe. Sue-E pondered for a while, then took out 10 bottles of spiritual liquid from the primordial ancient bell and gave them to the desolation-devouring heaven beast. As the saying goes, there's always a return. The value of the spiritual liquid was even higher than the heavenly glass stamen. After receiving the spiritual liquid, Sue-E once again examined the primordial chaos ancient bell in front of him. Traces of dense and mysterious light runes were entwined around it, and its aura was rising crazily like a hot knife through butter. Looking at it from afar, it was as if one's heart was bathed in holy light, pure and holy. What kind of secret is hidden behind the primordial ancient bell? Sue-E thought to himself. The secret of the spiritual pool in the primordial ancient bell had been revealed. It was the symbol of the 4 heaven-suppressing stones. However, would the spiritual liquid have a mysterious origin? Let's go. The truth will come out one day. Sue-E looked at the desolation-devouring heaven beast and Duguyuma, and the corner of his mouth curled up. Immediately, the few of them left the dark space. In the deep sea, Sue-Yi's eyes shone with a cold light. Only Hu Qi of the Divine Tiger sect had escaped. Judging from the aura left in the deep sea, Hu Qi had escaped to the Divine Tiger continent in the northeast. Hu Qi was involved in the bloody case on the Demon Mountain. This matter had become a knot in Sue-Yi's heart for a long time. Now that he had found the murderer and killed Spear Ghost, Hu Qi must not be let go. Sue-Yi, who had wanted to go to the Chaos Realm from the Sky Sea City, decided to go through the Sky Sea City and pursue Hu Qi. Let's go. Hu Qi is more important. Let's put the other matters aside first. Sue-Yi said coldly. In the sea, after Tunton stopped breathing in the dark space, the deep-sea whirlpool in the sea had disappeared, and it was easier to detect the aura. Someone is coming. Tunton looked into the distance. Suddenly, a tyrannical aura rippled and spread out like lightning. It was Lan Huanglian, who had come from the Sky Sea City. At the edge of the light screen, pitch-black spatial cracks swept out like a storm. "Are you all okay?" "That's great." Lan Huanglian heaved a sigh of relief and said. In the middle of the light screen, Lan Huanglian looked at Su Yi anxiously. The latter's eyes were cold and even had a hint of coldness. He did not reply. Lan Huanglian looked around and saw that there was a piece of black metal with a terrifying aura beside Duguyuma. Lan Huanglian immediately went to Duguyuma and said, "Yuma, you are out." "I am relieved." Lan Huanglian sighed and her crescent brows frowned slightly. Duguyuma said awkwardly, "Yes. Yes, I entered the deep sea without permission and caused trouble for sister." Chapter 2284. After saying that, Duguyuma lowered his head. He knew that the situation was very awkward, so he didn't say anything else. This time, Sky Sea City was too unpredictable. First, they asked Su Yi to help them find support. Then, they told the Long family about Su Yi's whereabouts, almost causing Su Yi to be buried in Sky Sea City forever. If it was anyone else, this would be a blood feud that touched their bottom line. Su Yi didn't immediately find Sky Sea City to settle the score, which was already very generous. Sensing that their attitudes were completely different from before, Lan Balian smiled awkwardly. Looking around, Lan Balian's eyes faintly drifted to the black iron beast beside Su Yi. The lightning that seeped out of its thundercloud eyes made Lan Balian's heart tighten. The destructive energy that Tunton released surged in the air, and the surrounding space became illusory. Lan Balian knew that this was a super great demon. It was definitely the Sea City giant beast that Sky Sea City coveted. The sea current surged, and killing intent surged. In the deep sea region, the cold and gloomy sea water couldn't hide the boundless killing intent on Su Yi's body. "What's wrong with you, Ma? What happened?" Lan Balian lowered her voice and looked at Duguyuma. Suddenly, Su Yi's back was facing Lan Balian. His pitch-black eyes shone as he said coldly, "Let's go. There's no point in talking to a lowly person. Su Yi, if I did anything wrong, you can tell me. If Sky Sea City is in the wrong, I can take responsibility." Lan Balian said anxiously. "You can't take responsibility for anything. Go back and tell Yi that I, Su Yi, will remember what Sea City did today." Su Yi said. "What about you, Ma, and this expert? It's our Sea City's totem, right?" Lan Balian had already guessed Ebon's identity, and her heart was in turmoil. Roar. In the entire sky, the wind and clouds surged. At this moment, it was as if a desolate god had descended. Huge ripples spread out from the dark tide. Thunder rumbled in the air, and the roars of the desolate devouring heaven shocking beasts shook the heavens. The sea currents stretched out like tentacles towards the surroundings of the blue rainflower ripple. Lan Yelyan's expression changed drastically. She raised her head abruptly and stared at the desolate devouring heaven beast and Su Yi in shock. The tides surged, and the sea region went berserk. The great demon in front of him was the guardian of Sea City. For the past 10,000 years, Sea City had been safe and sound under the protection of this great demon. But now, the attentive Lan Balian smelled an indescribable feeling amidst the frenzy. The scene in front of her was like an ancient demon descending upon heaven and earth. Lan Linglian could see that the boundless violent energy contained a trace of restraint. The desolate engulfing heavenly beast in front of her was waiting for Su Yi to speak. "Little girl, you undersea humans have been looking for me for so many years, but I've been too lazy to deal with you. But if you dare to harm my master, I will spare no effort to bombard your underwater castle." Tunton stared fiercely with its ferocious eyes and spoke viciously. Its vicious aura soared to the sky, and its killing intent was awe-inspiring. Suddenly, a huge amount of energy poured out and pressed down on Lan Yelyan's body. Chi-la! Lan Yelyan observed the changes in front of her, and her heart was already filled with shock. Su-yi was the master of the desolate engulfing heaven shocking beast? How is this possible? Lan Yelyan widened her eyes. When she looked up again, the ferocious beast's soul's suppression caused her mind to tremble. When she looked around again, the desolate engulfing heaven shocking beast had turned into a huge black metal beast. It was carrying Su-yi and Duguyuma towards the northeast. Its aura was extremely shocking. After watching the black light disappear for a long time, the energy in Lan Yelyan's body gradually relaxed. Suddenly, the space felt as though everything had returned to normal. The surroundings gradually calmed down, but Lan Yelyan's heart was filled with great waves. Why was Su-yi's attitude so cold-blooded? On the back of the desolate engulfing heaven-shocking beast, Duguyuma, who had always been gentle to her, didn't seem to want them to stay? What exactly did Sky Sea City do to Su-yi? Hoo-hoo! Everything immediately calmed down. Lan Gulyen's entire body emitted a blue light, and a clear cold light appeared in her deep, jet-black eyes, like the stars in the night sky. She pursed her lips and rushed toward Sky Horizon Sea City. What? Su-yi is out? When Yi heard Lan Yelyan's words, her emotions instantly tensed up like a spring. A trace of undetectable fear appeared on her usually calm face. Su-yi had come out, and he even brought the desolate engulfing heaven-shocking beast with him. This meant that the Long family's plan to capture him had failed. As for the Long family, the Sky Dragon sect, and the Divine Tiger sect, she still hadn't seen them. Could it be that Su-yi had taken care of them? Thinking up to this point, Yi-yi's wrinkle-free forehead gradually filled with fine beads of sweat. She sat in the supreme, everlasting palace and thought to herself. The fish soldiers told me that the Long family had been here. Did you tell them about Su-yi's whereabouts? On the way here, how could a smart person like Lan Yelyan not have investigated clearly? She knew that even if she asked, Yi wouldn't tell her the truth. Lan Yelyan might as well tell her the result of her guess. Instead, she would be able to find out the truth of the matter. Is this your attitude towards your teacher? Yi opened her beautiful eyes, and her expression was filled with coldness as she stared at Lan Yelyan. In an instant, Lan Yelyan's lips curled slightly. Facing her teacher, Lan Yelyan no longer bowed and bent her knees. Instead, she questioned her sharply. You can't blame the Lord of Heaven for this matter. Su-yi has the water-suppressing heavenly stone. Once Su-yi fails, the Long family will stir up trouble. At that time we will fall out with Su-yi. The Lord of Heaven is thinking about the big picture. Wuxiu slowly walked out of the bubble. His pale face showed that he was in a terrible mood. He glanced at the Lord of Heaven and walked to Lan Yelyan's side, indicating for her to relax. Lan Yelyan looked at Wuxiu, but her attitude didn't soften at all. Thinking about Duguyuma and Su-yi's attitude, Lan Yelyan felt that she had become a treacherous villain for the first time. She reprimanded angrily. So, you're blaming me? If you want to blame me, I shouldn't have brought Su-yi to see you. Now that the Long family is in trouble in Tianlan Sea City, Su-yi has a grudge with Tianlan Sea City, and Sea City's backer has followed Su-yi. We've even offended the Myriad Sword Alliance. Lan Yelyan's thoughts were clear. Her gaze was like a cold sword as she looked at Wuxiu and Yi. When they heard about the Myriad Sword Alliance, Yi and Wuxiu's eyes flickered. Wuxiu patted Lan Yelyan's shoulder and said softly, I'll explain to Su-yi. The Sea City behemoth hasn't cooperated with Sea City for tens of thousands of years. As for the Myriad Sword Alliance, don't worry. We have our own plans. Our own plans. Lan Yelyan's gaze changed. She looked at Yi and Wuxiu, whom she was familiar with in the past, and shook her head. Chapter 2285. At that moment, Lan Balian felt like she was an outsider. She was kept in the dark about everything. The betrayal and deception caused Lon Bailian's heart to be in a mess. On one hand, it was friendship and righteousness. On the other hand, it was because of her master. This was a difficult choice. Sea City's 10,000 years of foundation will be decided by the masters themselves. I don't want to stay in Sea City during this period of time. Please don't come looking for me if anything happens, Lon Bailian said. A look of determination appeared in Lon Rillian's eyes. Soon after, her gaze fell on Yi Yi as she solemnly said, "My good master." His footsteps continued to retreat. After taking 10 steps back, he finally turned around and walked out of the everlasting palace. A blue light appeared under her feet. She sped up and disappeared in an instant. "Come back here." A hint of reluctance appeared in Yi Yi's throat, but she didn't actually stop Lon Bailian. Yi sat down in a daze when she was sure that Lon Bailian had left Wuji Hall. Slumped against the back of the chair, Yi furrowed her brows and remained silent for a long time. The cold light in Yi Yi's eyes didn't disappear. It was as if she was trying to protect her last dignity. "We've completely offended Sui." Ing Wuxiu smiled bitterly at Yi Yi. Yi pouted and said stubbornly, "Do you think I'm wrong too?" Ing Wuxiu shook his head and put his hand on Yi Yi's shoulder. "Right or wrong doesn't depend on the choice. It depends on the result. But, no matter which side wins, can you accept the result of the victory?" Yi finally let out a sigh of relief. She overlapped her palm with Ing Wuxiu's and said in a low voice, "Sui has taken away our pillar of support. We have no one else to rely on. We don't want the Long family to win, but we can't let Sui win. I don't want it to be like this." Ing Wuxiu's eyes narrowed, a hint of helplessness flashed in his eyes. "Then Sea City will suffer. The Holy Mountain is a lesson. Soon, Sky Dragon Sect and Divine Tiger Sect will suffer. Sea City will have to take action," Yi said calmly. Ing Wuxiu was silent for a while before he finally nodded and said to Yi, "Then I'll go to the Long family. We can only participate in the Myriad Sword Alliance's plan. I only wish Sui the best of luck." Yi turned her head, her eyes filled with deep affection. She glanced at the vast sea behind her and became extremely stern. "Xiugu, you understand me, right?" Yi seemed to be looking for a soulmate, a reason to support herself. The corner of Ing Wuxiu's mouth twitched. His breath was weak and haggard. He said, "1,000 Miles Pagoda, karmic fire hell. No matter what, we must not let this fire reach Tianlan City. Taking advantage of the fact that Sui hasn't made a move yet is our best chance. Let's hope we can get the best of both worlds." As soon as he finished his sentence, the blue bubbles around him started to surge. The ripples were so dense that they shot out and disappeared in front of everyone's eyes. In a split second, a cold and bleak atmosphere spread throughout the supreme everlasting palace, and Yi Yi's gaze became even colder. Without using the teleportation point in Tianlan City, Sui followed Hu Qi's aura all the way from Tianlan City to the Chaos Territory, then from the Chaos Territory to Zhongzhou. Along the way, Sui, the desolate devouring heavenly beast, and Duguyuma increased their speed to the maximum. Everywhere they passed by, there were cracks in the air like a spider web. When the three of them arrived in the sky above Zhongzhou, countless martial artists on the streets stopped and looked up. As such a terrifying aura arrived, countless shocked gazes were cast towards the sky. The red, black, and blue auras shone brightly as the heavenly might pressed down on the sky. The monstrous aura surged violently, as if it was about to shatter the void. Whoosh! The whole place was in an uproar. Countless people on the streets swallowed their saliva. There were even martial artists who looked terrified. When Sui stopped in the sky, Duguyuma, who was barely able to keep up with him, asked curiously, "Why did you stop?" Here, the aura disappeared. It should have been teleported away from here. Sui frowned and a cold killing intent shot out from the depths of his pupils. Duguyuma looked around, his blue crystal double moon eyes carefully sizing up the surroundings. As Sui said, he did not feel the slightest presence of Hu-Chi's aura. Then are we going to Divine Tiger Sect? Duguyama looked at Sui. In order to escape, would Hu-Chi directly escape back to Divine Tiger Sect? Sui shook his head, looked at the martial artists below, and said to the two, if Hu-Chi really wanted to lead me to Divine Tiger Sect, he would not have escaped for so long before teleporting away from Zhongzhou. Along the way, Hu-Chi first escaped from Tianlan Sea, and then passed through the Chaos Territory. Why was it so troublesome? No matter how Sui thought about it, Hu-Chi's goal was to shake off Sui and the others as much as he could, then find a place to heal himself so that he could easily sneak back to Divine Tiger Sect and pretend that nothing had happened. Now that he had escaped back to Divine Tiger Sect, Sui would immediately arrive, and for the Divine Tiger Sect who was secretly chasing Sui, it would give Sui a reason to destroy Divine Tiger Sect. Hu-Chi knew that if he returned to Divine Tiger Sect now, he would not be able to escape the fate of being killed by Shangguan Juehu. After all, Hu-Chi was the culprit of the Demon Mountain. Divine Tiger Sect and Sky Dragon Sect were deeply involved with the Long family, and Hu-Chi knew how many dirty things they had done. Compared to his son being killed and betraying the Long family, Divine Tiger Sect being destroyed was a blow that Shangguan Juehu could not bear, so Divine Tiger Sect would definitely not protect Hu-Chi at this time. Hu-Chi could only find a place to hide. Then where can he go? Tunton nodded in agreement. Soon after, the three of them left Continent Center City, retracted their auras, and landed in a dense forest outside the city. Slowly walking out of the dense forest, Sui had the desolate swallowing heavenly beast change its shape, until it shrunk into a palm-sized ball and put it in his bosom, then slowly said, Continent Center's transmission station has records of all the transmission stations in the city. We will know when we check. Your aura is too terrifying, although you are hiding in my bosom. You can't go berserk as you wish after entering the city. Sui smiled as he stroked the desolate swallowing heavenly beast in his bosom. Compared to its previous size that was almost larger than the entire Continent Center City, the current Tunton was extremely cute. After saying this, Sui and Duguyama entered Continent Center City like two normal young martial artists. When Sui entered Continent Center City, he could immediately feel that Continent Center City was completely different from before. Along the way, the martial artist's eyes were firm, the shops were in great numbers, and the bad habits of the sacred mountain had disappeared without a trace. Immediately, Sui had a lot of praise for the sacred mountain city under the management of Snow Red House. Chapter 2286. Just as Sui and Duguyama were about to go to the teleportation point in the city to ask, a fresh wave of aura came from beside them. A figure suddenly appeared beside Sui. The desolation-devouring heaven beast in his arms suddenly opened its mouth and roared angrily, startling the newcomer. Sui looked at the startled cultivator, and the corner of his mouth curled up. Soon after, he looked coldly at the newcomer. The newcomer's skin was as smooth as ice, and she wore a light purple dress. Even with a veil covering her face, she still had an indescribable mysterious temperament. Her eyes overflowed with spirituality like the moonlight on the sea, causing one's heart to flutter. Do the people of Sky Sea City like to pester people? Sui rolled his eyes. It turned out that the newcomer was Lon Balian, who had chased after him from Sky Sea City. Sui, you have to give others a chance to explain, right? If I did it, I will admit it. If I didn't do it, how can you blame your friend? Lon Balian's gaze fell on Sui and Duguyama. She pursed her lips tightly and was a little indignant. Sui sneered and immediately called out to Duguyama. He continued to walk forward and looked straight ahead. At this point, what does it matter if you did it or not? Anyway, when the time comes, I will settle the score with Sea City. When your master Yi did those stupid things, which side will you side with? Lon Balian frowned. Yi had asked her the same question before. Lon Balian didn't understand why she had to choose. I will not help either side. I will help whichever side is right. Lon Balian was fuming as she walked to Duguyuma's side. The latter smiled helplessly at Lon Balian's answer. Sui laughed and used his hand to stroke Tuntun's head. Tuntun's eyes were drooping, and it didn't want to look at Lon Balian. The dignified fairy of Sky Sea City actually speaks so childishly, Sui said lazily. Since he was in a hurry to chase after Hu Chi, how could he have the time to listen to Lon Balian's explanation? In fact, Sui didn't have any intention of blaming Lon Balian. It was better that Lon Balian didn't chase after him. This way, when the time came to settle the score, Sui could be even more reckless. Then you have to give me a chance to make it up to you, right? Let me make up for the heavenly monarch's mistake. Lon Balian pulled Duguyuma's arm and reprimanded in a low voice. There's no chance. Follow me if you want. Sui strode toward the teleportation station with a deep look in his eyes. Soon, they arrived at the main transmission station. At this time, cultivators had gathered, all dressed in sacred mountain attire, waiting respectfully near the main transmission station. Sui and the others stopped in their tracks. Lon Xiaolian said softly, "What's going on? Did anyone from the sacred mountain come today? Let's observe the situation first." Suyi's eyes narrowed as he shrugged and looked ahead. Since there were people from the sacred mountain, it was impossible to check the records in such a short time. Following the crowd, Sui, Duguyuma, and Lon Balian sneaked into the main transmission station from the back of the crowd. Once they entered, they were greeted with an overwhelming amount of crystal energy. The interior of the main transmission station today was dazzling with gold and jade. The entire room was filled with spiritual energy that made one's skin and meridians feel relaxed. There was an extraordinary feeling coming from both inside and outside. Inside the main hall, there was a crowd of people. Those standing were the experts from the Sacred Mountain Academy and the Sacred Mountain, who were stationed in Central Continent City. Sui wanted to inquire, but he saw that everyone's expression was solemn and fearful. He wanted to say something, but no one bothered with him. "No one bothered with us. I only heard them saying that it's the first time and there can't be any mistakes." Lon Balian came back from scouting and looked at Sui with a pout. Hearing this, Sui raised his chin slightly and muttered in his heart. This kind of ostentatious display was quite impressive. Could it be that under the control of the Snow Red House, there were still those fake experts from the Sacred Mountain? Swish! Standing behind the crowd, Sui, Lon Balian, and the others suddenly felt the teleportation crystal in the main hall light up. Spatial ripples flickered and soon covered the entire main hall. Instantly, the densely packed space above the main hall was filled with the energy of heaven and earth, gradually releasing a majestic vitality. Facing this kind of vitality, Sui was not surprised. Instead, Tuntun, who was in his arms, began to grimace and open her eyes wide to look around. It was as if she had seen an old acquaintance, which made Sui slightly surprised. "Tuntun, what's wrong with you?" Sui lowered his voice and stared at Tuntun. Tuntun's eyes only rippled, but she did not speak. As soon as he spoke, dozens of figures appeared near the teleportation crystal. Standing at the front was a man who was not even 30 years old. He had a thin figure and gave off an air of confidence as he slowly walked out. "Greetings, Sacred Emperor Shui! Greetings, Sacred Emperor Shui! Greetings, Sacred Emperor Shui!" When the surrounding people saw who had come, they all prostrated themselves on the ground. They were extremely respectful and shouted excitedly. Hearing such voices, Sui and Lon Balian suddenly realized that this was the first time the new sacred emperor of the Xiahong House had come to Zhongzhou City for an inspection. Immediately, when everyone saw the Xiahong House walk out, they all gasped. The aura that he exuded was ethereal and handsome, and his aura was majestic. The invisible pressure made people not dare to look at him directly. I was wondering who it was. So it's the Xiahong house. Sui crossed his arms and said with a smirk. In the solemn main hall, Su Yi's voice was particularly piercing. Everyone present knelt on the ground except for Su Yi, Lan Balian, and Duguyuma, the three onlookers, who were standing. In an instant, everyone's eyes were focused on Su Yi. There was fear, surprise, and most of them were cold. How dare you? Who are you? How dare you not kneel when you see sacred Emperor Shui? What arrogance! Where did this arrogant brat come from? Sacred Emperor Shui, this person snuck in. When the leading expert of the sacred mountain heard someone say such words, he was so frightened that his face turned ashen. Immediately, countless onlookers began to point at Su Yi's nose and scold him. They did not know where this arrogant brat came from, but he dared to call the Xiahong house by his name in public. Countless shocked gazes filled the air. Several majestic sacred ruler Qi instantly surged around the Xiahong house. Seeing the cold Xiahong house notice them, the onlookers' mouths twitched for no reason. They looked at Su Yi with pitiful gazes. They really did not know where this arrogant brat came from, coming here to play to the gallery. The crowd quickly opened up a path for the Xiahong house. With a tall and straight figure, the sacred ruler Qi opened up a path. The handsome Xiahong house narrowed his eyes and quickly walked to Su Yi's side. When he noticed the two people beside him, the Xiahong house's pupils dilated, and he immediately revealed a warm smile. I was wondering who it was. So it's you, the king of geniuses, the Xiahong house said slowly. Ah! Immediately, the two looked at each other and laughed. They opened their arms and hugged each other tightly. Chapter 2287. In an instant, everyone present was petrified as they looked at Su Yi and Zhuhonglu. The young man who suddenly appeared in front of them hugged Zhuhonglu. It seemed that the two were very familiar with each other. No. In an instant, when they recalled the words of Xiahong Pavilion, everyone's gazes toward Su Yi became strange, and their pupils immediately widened and dilated. Who did the Holy Snow Emperor just call this young man? King. King of geniuses? I heard it very clearly. It's the King of geniuses. The young man who shocked the Sacred Martial Arts Assembly, massacred the Holy Mountain Academy, and finally conquered the Holy Mountain, the King of geniuses, Su Yi. Suddenly, everyone present looked at each other and began to whisper in the direction of Su Yi and Zhuhonglu. Their expressions suddenly became extremely terrifying. No one expected that the King of geniuses and the Holy Snow Emperor would come to Zhongzhou at the same time. Moreover, the King of geniuses was so young, even younger than everyone thought. Wow! Seeing how close the Holy Snow Emperor and Su Yi were, everyone present had already confirmed Su Yi's identity. The people who had not yet stood up lowered their heads even more. The sound of a tsunami once again boiled the air. In fact, the sound waves were even louder than before. The rolling pressure shook the air. The experts who were in fear and trepidation took the lead in shouting very loudly, their faces full of excitement. The King of Geniuses, the new Dean of the Holy Mountain Academy, Zhong Yiwu, greets the King of Geniuses. The chief disciple of Elder Duanmu of the Holy Mountain Sacred Martial Hall, Shi Mafeng, greets the King of Geniuses. Master often talks about you. The guard captain of Zhongzhou, who, Giyi greets the King of Geniuses. At this moment, everyone looked at Su Yi with fear and shock. Some of them were so excited that they fainted from fright. Those who had witnessed Su Yi's prowess in the Holy Mountain felt as if they had returned to the murderous atmosphere back then. Their eyes were filled with fear and excitement. The crowd was noisy and incoherent. Not much time had passed. Compared to the new Holy Emperor, the reputation of the King of Heaven's pride was undoubtedly more resounding in the Central Continent, the Holy Mountain Academy, and the Holy Mountain. If the Saint Snow Emperor was a symbol of authority, then the King of Geniuses was a symbol of power. The name Su-Yi was like a huge mountain pressing down on the experts of the Holy Mountain who used to flaunt their powerful connections, and like a great river irrigating the people of the Central Plains who had been exploited. Turning back to look at Duguyuma and Lan Yelyan, their expressions had already explained everything. They never thought that Su-Yi would have such a glorious reputation in the Central State. Su-Yi smiled bitterly and shook his head. It was as if he was saying that this was the reason why he didn't want to enter the Central Continent. Su-Yi waved his hand, and Xiahong House's eyebrows turned cold again. He said to the crowd, "Everyone, stop." Turning his head, Xiahong House patted Su-Yi's shoulder. In his spiritual sense, Su-Yi's incomparably powerful primordial qi feedback made Xiahong House's eyes flash with disbelief and surprise. Looking at Su-Yi, who was as calm as water, Xiahong House smiled bitterly and shook his head. He quickly ordered the people around him, "Today's inspection of the Central State City is over. Everyone leave." Changing the topic, Xiahong House looked at Lan Yelyan and Duguyuma and said, "Xiahong House has not received you well. Sorry for not going out to welcome you. I didn't expect the Sword Immortal's disciple and the Sea City Fairy to visit. Welcome them together. This way, please." After saying that, Xiahong House stared at Su-Yi, as if blaming Su-Yi for bringing important guests to the Central State without greeting them. Then, under everyone's shocked gazes, they left the main teleportation station. Before leaving, Su-Yi whispered a few words to Xiahong House. Soon, the governor of the Central State City went to handle it eagerly like a rabbit. In the largest inner room of the governor's mansion. "You brat, you didn't even greet us when you came to the Central State." Xiahong House scolded him jokingly and looked at Su-Yi. At this moment, Su-Yi looked at Li Ling, who was beside Xiahong House, and the corners of his mouth curled up. "I can't compare with you. You're really carefree now. You're so ostentatious, and you even have a beautiful woman as your companion. It's a pity that I'm being hunted down every day." Xiahong House waved his hand and shook his head helplessly. He told Su-Yi that since he had become the Saint Emperor, the old customs of the sacred mountain had to be broken. It was difficult to set up rules, but it was even more difficult to abide by them. From top to bottom, the entire Central State and the 6 continents, all the branches of the sacred mountain had to be replaced. One could imagine how huge this project was. Sometimes ostentatiousness was necessary. Su-Yi, who was the sect leader of a superforce, could empathize with the management experience of these sections. Li Ling, who was standing beside him, was gentle and well-behaved. After listening for a while, she smiled at Su-Yi and walked to Lan Balian and Duguyuma's side to exchange pleasantries. After hearing Su-Yi's words, Xiahong House frowned and said seriously, "Who's after you? Someone from the Long family?" In a split second, Xiahong House's boundless strength of the peak 9th level Origin Emperor realm burst out. The sharp Saint Ruler Qi instantly smashed the teacup on the table into powder. Su-Yi sniffed as killing intent surged in between his eyebrows. He quickly told Xiahong House everything that had happened during this period of time. "The Long family is getting more and more rampant. It seems like the battle with Draconis is coming soon." Xiahong House slammed the table as endless killing intent flashed across his eyes. "Oh right, when did you reach the peak 9th level Origin Emperor realm?" Su-Yi sensed Xiahong House's Origin Qi aura and felt that Xiahong House was only a step away from the Origin Ancestor realm. Xiahong House nodded and said, "After you left the Sacred Mountain, the energy of the Gold Heaven Suppressing Stone in my body was completely activated. My cultivation speed also increased rapidly. However, the Origin Ancestor realm is too far away. If I want to break through, I still need an opportunity." Gold Heaven Suppressing Stone. Tunton suddenly jumped out from Su-Yi's arms. Xiahong House, and Li Ling's eyes darkened at the sight of its round black iron body. This is? Xiahong House's eyes flashed with a strange look. Su Yi hurriedly explained Tuntun's background to Xiahong House. The desolate devouring heavenly beast quickly moved to Xiahong House's side and looked up and down. Its eyes gradually became moist. You don't remember me? Tuntun asked anxiously. During the ancient times, the desolate devouring heavenly beast and the gold heaven suppressing stone depended on each other. That was the most unforgettable period for Tuntun. When the gold heaven suppressing stone was passed to the Sky Wind Martial Pavilion, Tuntun had never seen the gold heaven suppressing stone again. Since then, the gold heaven suppressing stone had wandered the mortal realm. After a long period of time, it had transformed into a human form and reincarnated as a human. Looking at Tuntun, Xiahong House's expression changed from doubtful to touched. Xiahong House said softly, "Familiar, but also not familiar. Su-Yi, who is this?" Tuntun also turned to look at Su-Yi and suddenly burst into tears. She said while twitching non-stop, "Master, he actually doesn't remember me." Su-Yi smiled and scratched his head. Such an extraordinary relationship was something that Su-Yi couldn't explain in a short period of time. Chapter 2288. I'll explain the situation to you later. Su-Yi smiled awkwardly. At this moment, the new Zhongzhou City Lord's aura shot out from outside the door. Before he arrived, his voice was as loud as a bell. Xiahong House, Su-Yi, and the others quickly stood up. The Zhongzhou City Lord hurriedly reporting to the King of Geniuses, reporting to the Holy Snow Emperor, we have found out where that thief was teleported to. Lan Linglian and Duguyuma looked at each other. No wonder Su-Yi and Xiahong House were so relaxed. They had already made arrangements. Su-Yi frowned and asked in a low voice, where was he teleported to? Central Continent's City Lord looked to his side. After making sure that there were no outsiders, he immediately said, "This thief's identity is special." After showing the family's command medallion, the transfer station's disciples don't need to record him. However, this humble one still went through untold hardships and finally found traces of this thief. Perhaps he wanted to take credit for it, but the Zhongzhou City Lord purposely described the process in an extremely complicated way, which made everyone feel disgusted. Xiahong House immediately scolded, "Just say it, where is he?" "The Taiqing continent." Hearing the sacred Snow Emperor's words, the Zhongzhou City Lord knelt on the ground, his body trembling. "The Taiqing continent." Hearing these words, Su-Yi frowned and his eyes turned cold. He stroked his chin and said softly, "He really knows how to choose a place." Xiahong House nodded and looked at Su-Yi thoughtfully. She said lightly, "The Divine Tiger sect is in the Divine Tiger continent. However, in terms of geographical distribution, the Taiqing continent is the closest to the Divine Tiger continent. As the saying goes, the most dangerous place is the safest place. If an ordinary person was running for their life, they would run in the opposite direction as far as they could. For a 1,000-year-old man like Hu Qi, the Taiqing continent was undoubtedly a safer and smarter choice. Firstly, it was easy to hide. Secondly, even if he was really surrounded, his forces in the Divine Tiger sect could arrive immediately. After analyzing the situation, everyone immediately decided to head to the Taiqing continent. Su-Yi looked at the Xiahong House and smiled. "Thanks to you. Let's head to the Taiqing continent now." "What do you mean? You're not bringing me along?" Xiahong Pavilion frowned, and her proud and cold brows surged with a trace of displeasure. Su-Yi's eyes widened as he looked at Xiahong Lu, and Li Ling. Xiahong Lu said, "You still haven't told me about this, Brother Eben." "Yes, Su-Yi. And we've always wanted to thank you in person. It's rare to see you in your travels. Let's go to the Taiqing continent together." The corners of Li Ling's mouth curled up slightly as she leaned toward the snow-red pavilion. Her cheeks were as red as clouds. Seeing Su Yi's hesitant appearance, Xiahong Lu put her arms around Su Yi's neck and gently reprimanded, "You brat, do you think that my cultivation is too low to help you? What are you talking about?" Su Yi rolled his eyes as warmth and conflict crazily struggled in his heart. The snow-red pavilion now had such a huge sacred mountain to manage and a lovely wife like Li Ling to accompany him. It would naturally be good if the snow-red pavilion could go with him, but this matter could be considered as Su Yi's own personal matter. Su Yi wasn't too willing to let the snow-red pavilion get involved so early just to avenge the spirit ancient village. Unable to persuade the snow-red pavilion, Su Yi finally relented and nodded. "Fine, let's go together." Before they left, Li Ling was still asked to stay behind to help the snow-red pavilion complete the inspection. The snow-red pavilion and Li Ling were still affectionate. There was an earth-shattering change in the wind god-man from before, who was as cold as ice and stone. In front of the teleportation crystal, Su Yi looked at the snow-red pavilion with a sincere smile. "I didn't think that you would have such a day." Suddenly, a trace of embarrassment appeared in the snow-red pavilion's eyes. Beside her, Lan Linglian and Duguyuma covered their faces and chuckled. "You brat." When the snow-red pavilion grabbed Su Yi was already surrounded by the light of the crystal. The ripples drifted in the air, and he disappeared without a trace. Boom! Seeing the faint green figure in front of them disappear, the entire space began to distort. A powerful spatial power rushed toward them, and soon, the void of the teleportation station was distorted like a fried dough twist. The figures of the snow-red pavilion, Lan Linglian, and Duguyuma gradually disappeared. "Oh my God!" The Zhongzhou city lord stood in front of Li Ling, and his eyes were filled with shock. He whispered, "Sacred Master, this is incredible! The King of Prodigies, Sacred Snow Emperor, Celestial Maiden Lan, and Lady Dugu all have extraordinary backgrounds. This scoundrel will definitely be captured." Watching everyone disappear, a trace of noble coldness appeared on Li Ling's gentle face. She had the demeanor of a sacred master. She said softly and coldly, "Don't tell anyone about what happened today. The inspection continues." Yes. Taiching continent, where the Taiching sect was located. Among the one mountain, 2 religions, 3 sects, and 4 factions, it was a mid-level force. Previously, he had heard Qi Feihong mention that most of the forces in the one mountain, 2 religions, 3 sects, and 4 factions were powerful on the surface, but secretly relied on the aristocratic families to survive. Among the upper-level forces, the original Sacred Mountain, the current Divine Tiger sect, and the Sky Dragon sect had countless unclear relationships with the Long family. It was rumored that the Immortal Sword sect had always wanted to establish a relationship with the 10,000 Sword Alliance. On the other hand, the Taiching sect was secretly in contact with the Thunderfire Temple. At this moment, in the sky above the Taiching continent, a pitch-black spatial crack flashed, and the pressure of the entire sky suddenly decreased. A few powerful rays of light crossed the sky and directly descended on the ground of the Taiching continent. The ground shook slightly. Sensing that there was no movement in the surroundings, Su Yi slowly relaxed his aura. This Taiching continent is also famous for its vast land and abundant resources. I'm afraid that we won't be able to find Hu Qi in a short time. Su Yi stretched. Since he knew that Hu Qi was in the Taiching continent, Su Yi was no longer in a hurry. Letting him live a little longer was the result that Su Yi wanted. "Then I'll arrange for the Sacred Mountains branch to search," Xiahong House said. Su Yi raised his hand and looked into the distance. Faint clouds floated and said, "A strong dragon can't suppress a snake in its own territory." During the Tianfeng ranking tournament, the Taiching sect had some contact with the Zhentian Palace. You see, I didn't even bother to look for Nye Shuangjue of the Taiching Branch Palace because I don't want to use our own people in such a close situation. The closer the distance, the more eyes there will be. Hearing this, Xiahong House also felt that it made sense and immediately said, "It's just that the Taiching sect has always been in contact with the Thunder Fire Temple. I'm worried." Instantly, Su Yi's lips curled into a smile. His deep gaze landed on the three of them as he spoke softly. "Then we can go and explore the details of the Thunder Fire Temple. The battle with the Long family will come eventually. Even if they don't help us when the time comes, we can't let the Thunder Fire Holy Temple help them." "What Taiching sect? If they get angry, I'll put them out." Tunten jumped out of Su Yi's arms and said fiercely. Chapter 2289. Su Yi smiled bitterly as he looked at the desolation engulfing Heavenly Beast in his arms. His eyes were filled with helplessness as he shook his head. "You'd better not move around blindly. You're an ancient demonic beast. If these people know about your movements, my situation will be even more difficult. You'd better stay here obediently." Su Yi touched Tunten's head as the corner of his mouth curled up slightly. Immediately, he stuffed Tunten into his arms a little more. Ancient demonic beast. Every time Tunten poked its head out, Xiahong Lu's expression would change. When Tunten was once again hidden in Su Yi's arms, Xiahong Lu had already turned his face to the side. Since Su Yi hadn't told him about Tunten's origin for the time being, Xiahong Lu naturally wouldn't ask about it according to his temperament. Looking at Lan Balian and Duguyuma beside him, Xiahong Lu knew that these two were also very clear about Tunten's identity. Xiahong Lu had absolute trust in Su Yi. As long as Su Yi didn't say anything, he wouldn't ask. Xiahong Lu believed that when the time came, Su Yi would naturally tell him. Everyone in the Taiching continent knows about the Taiching sect. Many years ago, I had also visited here with the elders of the Holy Mountain. I'll lead the way. Follow me. Xiahong Lu gently waved his sleeves, and an earth-shattering yuan qi accompanied by a whistling gust of wind. Suddenly, a golden light appeared under his feet. "Let's go." Su Yi smiled slightly. Lan Balian and Duguyuma looked at each other and nodded. Suddenly, their bodies shone brightly, and the water attribute and sword qi covered the sky. Above the void, the aura grew endlessly. The two girls immediately urged the yuan qi under their feet to follow Xiahong Lu and Su Yi. Their speed was as fast as lightning. In the sky, four ghost-like phantoms flashed past, and they were all moving close to the ground at high speed. On the green ground, the grass was stuck to the ground. The strong wind blew, and the violent yuan qi pressed out four deep gullies along the way. The terrifying strength displayed by the four of them would undoubtedly make anyone present gasp in admiration. In less than half a day, the four of them came to a huge mountain gate. On the huge golden stone, there were three big words carved on it: Taiching sect. "We're here," Su Yi said with a faint smile. Looking at the sky, the vast energy fluctuations in the air were like the nine heavens' immortal qi slowly blowing away, causing the eyes of the four people who had been running for a long time to light up. Su Yi's eyes stopped on the flowing light of secret patterns that lingered in the air. The corner of his mouth lifted slightly. Because the four of them had already discussed before, this time they came to ask the people of the Taiching sect to help find Hu Qi, so they would try not to expose their identities as much as possible. Therefore, they were not going to report their names directly. With the Taiching family, the current situation was that among the five great families, the Yun family was on his side. Tianlan Sea City had chosen the Long family. The remaining ones were the Thunder Fire Temple and the Myriad Sword Alliance. With a slight frown, Su Yi's deep black eyes flashed with a trace of coldness. He had also come to the Taiching sect. Xiahong House took the lead and said coldly to the Taiching sect's guarding disciple, "Brother, we are from the Jutian Palace. We want to see your Taiching sect master." "Presumptuous. I'm not free." The Taiching sect's disciple's eyes were burning, and his brows were frowning. Looking at the handsome man, he didn't think much and asked him to leave. Xiahong House was slightly stunned, and the three people behind him all frowned. At this time, Su Yi stepped forward and frowned at the two disciples guarding the mountain. The strength of the two people in front of him had already reached the first level of Origin Emperor realm, which was quite extraordinary. The cultivation of the two guarding disciples was so high. This was a luxury for a first-class strength like the Taiqing sect. Come to think of it, something important must have happened to the Taiqing sect, so they were so cautious. Su Yi was suspicious in his heart. Suddenly, Su Yi's Origin Supreme technique suddenly channeled. He secretly condensed a handprint. From his wide sleeves, a faint golden light shrouded, and a fierce murderous aura spread out. The oncoming vast energy immediately made the two guarding disciples tremble. Their faces changed wildly. Large beads of sweat quickly slid down from their foreheads. They said in amazement, "Who are you? Didn't I ask you to leave?" "The people of the Jutian Palace," I just said. "We want to see your Taiqing sect master, Sikong Zongxing. I think you'd better inform him." As soon as the voice sounded, the aura around Su Yi's body dispersed in the space again, and the space ripples visible to the naked eye suddenly shattered. "You!" One of the guarding disciples was knocked back a few steps by Su Yi's qi, and he was stopped by another guarding disciple. The latter said, "Okay, you wait for a while, I will inform you immediately. You can wait in the Taiqing Hall." When the two disciples entered the door, Su Yi, Xiahong House and others were led into the Taiqing Hall. The solemn space was mixed with a huge vast energy, giving people a righteous and awe-inspiring feeling. What happened to the Taiqing sect? Why do they look so flustered? Lan Linglian recalled the strangeness of the guarding disciple and the guiding disciple just now, and her eyes began to ripple. Hearing this, Sui also shrugged his shoulders and said to everyone, "Since we are here, let's take things as they come. If the Taiqing sect can't even take care of themselves, we will just leave." Immediately, everyone nodded. After half a day, time passed like quicksand, but the Taiqing Hall was still quiet. "Damn it, is this Sikong Zongxing deliberately leaving us out?" Xiahong House was a little impatient from waiting, and she stood up abruptly. At this time, in the vast and mighty light that filled the sky, an incomparably fierce and enormous power erupted from the crack of the door. The eyes of the four people darkened. Powerful Yuan Qi light accompanied by vast and mighty Yuan Qi instantly filled the grand clear hall. Taiqing 3 points formation. "Kill these people for me." A loud shout sounded outside the door, and the entire space rippled. The terrifying sword array aura soared into the sky. The huge green light sword array was like a poisonous snake, piercing through the door and directly turning into an endless sword shadow storm that rushed toward the four people in the room. The astonishing power swept across the world, and it came suddenly, making everyone secretly surprised. "How dare you harm my master? I will kill you!" Tunton roared. As soon as the black iron light burst out, it was pressed into his chest by Su Yi. Such a change happened in an instant. The eyes of the four flashed at the same time, and they shouted together. Above the void, 4 light shadows that controlled the world were formed and went toward the green sword. Boom! The unparalleled sword shadow immediately set off a sky full of lightning sword shadows, and the terrifying Saint King Qi directly lifted the countless jade bricks in the hall into a defensive array. Chapter 2290. Immediately afterward, the surging spiritual power rushed out along with the deep-sea gas. The violent vitality fluctuation fell from the sky and fiercely blocked in front of the four people. GG. The sea curtain surged, and the golden-red Emperor Sparrow Divine Flame whizzed out. The monstrous divine bird's coercion was above any kind of coercion, instantly filling the whole world. Within the light, Su Yi was shrouded in a divine ring, and the crimson-golden secret patterns kept flowing in the space. The Emperor Sparrow phantasm cast by the pure fire attribute vitality caused a large area of space ripples to appear horrifying distortion. Above the sky, the Emperor Sparrow spread its divine wind wings and opened its fiery eyes. Flames that seemed to be able to suppress everything in the world spewed out from the sky. The divine power was vast, and the divine flame burned the sky. Under such a powerful coercion, some of the Tai Ching sect's martial artists with low cultivation directly prostrated on the ground with blood spurting out. At this time, the eyes of the powerhouses and disciples who were channeling the Tai Ching 3 points formation began to surge with extreme fear. Looking at the strange vitality phantasm in the sky, everyone's heart had already palpitated. The golden clouds were dense, the waves were turbulent, and the divine bird was flying in the sky. The surging flames penetrated the space like a lightning beam, and the green light sword array directly intertwined in the void. Clang clang! When this surging beam of light, which had fused 4 different types of energy, collided with the great sword in the air, its momentum instantly collapsed. A powerful energy pressure spread out from it, and the entire sky began to tremble violently. Boom boom! The ground of the Tai Ching main hall, which was thousands of meters long, was directly lifted by countless sharp blades. The huge impact made the originally majestic hall instantly become a murderous aura battlefield. Bang bang bang! At the moment of the collision, all the Tai Ching sect's martial artists present had a drastic change in expression. An indescribable soul fluctuation swept out from the main hall. The space ripples shattered the void, and the majestic soul energy also directly overturned dozens of Tai Ching sect's martial artists to the ground, as if they had no power to fight back at all. Outside the main hall there was an uproar. The low sonic boom continued to resound above the main hall, and many Tai Ching sect's martial artists collapsed to the ground. Amidst their astonished gazes, no one dared to believe that their most powerful joint attack formation of over 100 people had been blocked so easily. The remaining Tai Ching sect's disciples who were still holding on were still tough, but their faces were also full of weakness. A bloody smell condensed in their chests. Hold on! There must be something wrong with these thieves of unknown origin. Standing in the middle of the crowd, a young man with a broad face and high cheekbones shouted sternly, looking in the direction of the main hall. Even if he had consumed a lot of his vitality, he still refused to give up. Yes, senior fellow apprentice Chiu. All of the martial artists on the field revealed a resolute expression, as if they were facing a mortal enemy. They stood up once more, their eyes filled with surging blood as they shot towards the main hall like arrows. Then, a dazzling green sword light array was formed once more. Go! Under the young man's command, all the cultivators who could still fight stepped forward, their eyes filled with killing intent shooting out. Qianongfeng, why are you making such a big scene? Is this how the Tai Ching sect treats their guests? In the hall, Zhuanglu's low voice was accompanied by powerful soul energy. In the glazed tiles of the main hall, countless golden lights flashed. The dazzling light broke through the world like a waterfall. The light dissipated, and 4 figures appeared outside the main hall. When the 4 people landed, the Tai Ching sect's people saw that the 4 people were all young men and women in their 20s. The entire space trembled, and then everything seemed to be stagnant. The pupils of everyone present suddenly shrank. No words could describe the mood of the injured disciples at this moment. Everyone looked at the 4 people in horror. The combat power in the main hall just now was too terrifying. What was even more terrifying was that such terrifying combat power actually came from the hands of these 4 young men. The surprised eyes mixed with fear slowly glanced at the 4 people. Everyone was shocked. No one thought that Lan Xiaoyan and Duguyuma, who were slender and delicate, actually hid such amazing strength under their jade-like skin. The man who spoke just now had his black hair fluttering slowly. He stood there leisurely. His extraordinarily handsome face revealed the domineering power of a natural emperor. What made the powerhouses present even more terrified was the figure in a green robe next to the man in golden clothes. His robe was fluttering, and he was shrouded in a divine halo. Deep in his dark eyes, there was the profound aura of a great master. His every move had the ability to move the sky and the sea, which made people want to kneel down and worship him. Suddenly, everyone swallowed a mouthful of saliva. The ferocious aura that burst out from these four young men was too powerful. It was definitely not comparable to those present. So powerful! How can these four people be so strong? Especially the young man in the green robe. He is the youngest but the most terrifying one. The phantom of the divine bird just now should be him. Senior Brother Chio, who are these people? The powerhouses present all looked stiff, as if they had seen a ghost. They stepped back unconsciously. Waves flashed in the depths of their pupils, and they looked at Chiu Nongfeng, who was the leader. You! Chiu Nongfeng narrowed his eyes and took a step forward in disbelief. His eyelids twitched a few times, and then he opened his mouth and said loudly, "How can it be you?" As the core disciple of the Taiching sect, Chiu Nongfeng had naturally participated in the Tianfeng ranking battle. He had definitely seen the real faces of Su Yi, Lan Balian, Duguyuma, and the Xiahong house. As long as you know who we are. What the hell are you doing? Why are you killing everyone you see? Lan Balian gave Chiu Nongfeng a look. She was afraid that Chiu Nongfeng would say her name. Then she frowned and said in a complaining tone, "Put it down. Put it down." Hearing that, Chiu Nongfeng took a deep breath. His eyes were full of shock, and he immediately asked all the disciples to withdraw their primordial qi. "Everyone, take a step back and adjust your qi. This is a misunderstanding." As soon as he finished speaking, the green sword light around Chiu Nongfeng immediately turned into smoke and dissipated. He bowed slightly to Su Yi and the others, and then he quickly ran into the hall. When he walked up to Su Yi and saw the King of Geniuses, Chiu Nongfeng couldn't help but tremble slightly because of the soul energy released by Su Yi. Chiu Nongfeng's eyes flashed, and he apologized to the four people again. The four people in front of him were calm, and their primordial qi was condensed and dazzling. Chiu Nongfeng knew that the four people had already held back their strength. Looking at Duguyuma and Lan Balian, Chiu Nongfeng immediately broke out in a cold sweat. At this time, Chiu Nongfeng's lingering fear surged. If he had fought with all his strength just now, the hall of the Taiching sect would have been turned into a pile of ruins now. "Guys, this is not the place to talk. Please follow me." Chiu Nongfeng lowered his voice. His eyebrows were as cold as iron, as if he was hiding something earth-shattering. In the surprised eyes, Su Yi and the other three people frowned and followed Chiu Nongfeng to the inner hall. Flowing light surged under their feet, and they quickly disappeared, leaving the shocked crowd behind. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.